The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
If there's two things we love here on GSRC, it's endurance racing and vintage racing. Today we get a bit spoiled because we're treated to both at once. But while it'll be exciting from the stands and the booth, it'll be absolutely hair-raising from inside the cockpit. It'll be 2.5 hours of white-knuckle multi-class racing here at Road America. We'll see who can manage to bring it to the checkered flag as we get ready to watch the Kamel GT 500. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the GTP class is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Next to him covering the GTO class is Johan Vanderbilt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, it's great to get to recreate a vintage race on a track it actually ran. Tell us about Road America and what it holds in store.
Joe, what Elkhart Lake holds in store is one of the most scenic, most historic tracks in the United States when it comes to road racing. It's 4.048 miles, 6.515 kilometers, 14 turns. They're going to do about 78 laps over 500 kilometers today. But, really, this track has produced some of the world's best racing for over 60 years now. Beautiful, scenic, park-like grounds here that sit just between Milwaukee and Green Bay. The length of this track, certainly one of the longest in the United States on the North American continent when it comes to road racing. The length of this track tends to bring out the worst in cars over a long run. Today, 500 kilometers, you never know what could happen. Mechanical failure, damage. Certainly here in the iRacing simulation, all those replicated. But the track itself remains unchanged from when they opened it, all those many 60 years ago. It's produced some unlikely winners over the years. I think we'll probably see one today in both classes. Who knows? We've got a big field and an exciting race on hand. But this, considered by most to be the best of road racing in North America, but the best way to get an idea what it's like for you to see how this track runs is to hop on board for another GSRC lap around America's National Park of Speed.
All right, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Road America. Coming down the front stretch, turn 1 offers a great place to pass, but the corner isn't as slow as you'd expect. That means you won't always be able to do it by outbraking someone. Be careful about dipping wheels off on the exit, and then very quickly you're into turn 3. This is easily one of the most important corners of the track because of it leading onto the moraine sweep. Lining up your exit and getting the power down confidently will make a huge difference to your lap time and hopefully keep you safer from attack. That's because turn 5 is one of the most popular places to overtake. It's got heavy downhill braking from a very high-speed section though, so expect a few drivers to overshoot it throughout the day. Try not to be one of them. From off of there, you'll have a short climb up to turn 6 where the crest can make braking late pretty tricky. It's not hard to miss the apex. After that, you'll switch sides quick to line up turn 7 into the hurry downs. You'll still need a lift through this fast bend, and then if you get a good run, there's sometimes a chance for a sneaky pass into turn 8. Be very careful about how greedy you are on the power coming out of this corner. The turbo lag can loop you easily. Now we're in the carousel, which is a long and patience-trying sweeper. Try not to slip wide into the marbles or else it's a fast trip to the gravel. The best thing to do here is to try to set the car up for the exit to give yourself a good launch. With all the downforce on the Nissan, it means there's no lifting through the notorious kink. The kettle bottoms will weave you through the trees, and then you'll have to stomp the brakes for Canada Corner. This is where a lot of battles wind up in a last lap dive to get by. But as always, you've got to be careful with your right foot as you return to the power. The walls are ready to collect you on either side if you spin. Through the blind 13A, you'll be feathering the throttle, then get ready for the final turn. The curved braking makes it tough to maximize your entry, but it's the exit that should really concern you. Making sure to get a run up the hill is make or break for this lap and the next one. Hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Road America.
There you've got a lap through the trees and up and down the hills of Elkhart Lakes, Road America. Now, this is a slightly different race from what we have in store from the typical Kamel GT race, if you ever watched that on the Global Sim Racing channel. So let's go to Johan and find out what today's race details are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you probably used from the Kamel GT that there are two cars, and once again, that's no different today. The Nissan GTP and the Audi GTO will see the asphalt today. The race length, as Sean mentioned before, 78 laps. Now, that's probably true for the Nissan. The Audi will do a few laps fewer, around 71, 73 laps they will complete. The setters are open today with no fuel restrictions, but it doesn't mean that the cars do not have to make fuel stops. I think around 2 stops per car to see the checkered flag, and there's no incident cap that the drivers have to keep in mind today. So even if you go off track a little bit, there's no penalty waiting for you once the race is done.
Of course, and this is unofficial racing. This has basically been organized by the Kamel GT crew, so no safety rating is on the line here today. Unfortunately, even though there is no incident limit, I think it highly unlikely that you can have too many incidents, Sean, before the car is toast today.
Kaput.
Yeah, there's some high-speed sections, and this really is an endurance race. 2.5 hours may not sound like a lot to those who've done 24-hour races, but you got to keep this car whole.
You do, Joe, and listen, what have we learned from covering these guys weekly now for quite some time, and that is, yeah, you can beat these cars up, and you can knock parts off of them, and the Audi is, I wouldn't say the Audi is fragile. I would say the Nissan is probably the more fragile of the two vehicles, but both can take damage, and suspension issues can abound, especially for that Nissan. You destroy the under tray of that car, and you lose that ground effect, and it does not want to turn for you. It can get very, very sketchy. What could be flat out through the kink in a Nissan, a damaged Nissan, probably doesn't get through the kink flat out, and man, there's a lot of speed to be found in that whole back section of the course once you get out of the carousel, through the kink, and down into Canada Corner. That's where you're looking to make most of your moves today.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. This track, of course, has an abundant amount of places to pass with the long straights and heavy braking zones. Now, with this being an endurance race, it also means that it is a team race. Now, they don't necessarily need a team. But Johan, do you mind talking to the audience a little bit about how that all works today?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there is a team aspect in it, but most of the cars that you actually see on track today will actually be running solo. I actually had a look at the entry list for today, and most drivers actually opted to try and complete this 2.5 race alone. Now, as you said, Joe, there is a team aspect, and that means that you have to complete your own fair share of laps. I think it's around 25% of the race that you have to do. And with 3 predicted pit stops, it's kind of easy how you will do that. 1 stint for the other, 2 stints for the other driver, and that's probably how you will divide this race if you run this race with more than 1 driver in the same car.
As we watch the qualifying work its way through, the Nissans have already been out there, the GTP class right now. They've split up so that 10 minutes go to those GTP cars, and now the GTO cars get their own 10 minutes so that they're not tripping over one another. They lap each other enough during the race itself. They don't need to be doing that out there during qualifying. Mindtrick Motorsports seems to have taken the poll up on the GTP class, and right now we're still waiting on the first time. It's such a long lap for these GTO cars. Yeah. Not going to get too many of them in, it seems, Sean.
They're going to get maybe at best, with the time left, about 3 laps, maybe. You're just over 2 minutes around in the Audi. I managed a 2:12 last night. That means nothing. These guys are turning 2:07s and 2:06s. But you talked about the Nissans. It's the long, tall Texan Michael Houghton sitting there on the pole right now with Justin Albrecht, who had a great run. So that's your front row in the Nissan field, Albrecht and Houghton.
And speaking of, as we see a couple of the Audis get each other's way anyways, even though they don't have the other class to worry about. Speaking of the classes having to overtake one another, Sean, one of my worries is probably, I'd say, the first, maybe 30 minutes of this race when there's still a lot of cars bunched together. I mean, I would think that a big critical moment for these guys is just keeping patience in that first 30 minutes.
Yeah, hey, what's the old cliche? Patience is a virtue. It will be today. We talked about this first, and that was having to preserve the car. Well, if you don't have any patience early, then you're not going to be in this thing at the end. Again, folks, we've got an endurance race on tap for you today, not the standard 40 to 45-minute race. This is going to be about 2.5 hours, and you're really, really going to need to take care of the car. We can't emphasize that enough, and patience early will go a long way. Joe, we were talking about this before we spoke to you this morning in the pre-race, but I think the kink is going to be one of the big spots today because the Audi is so much slower through there. I mean, it's literally a little brake and lift getting through there. The Nissans fairly flat out through there. In fact, I didn't hear any Nissans last night lifting going through the kink. So that first time they come through the Audis getting out of the carousel and the kink, it's going to get very stacked up, Joe.
Yeah, but just to interfere very quickly, you're absolutely right that they will be stacked up and it will be difficult for them to pass. But they also have one good thing, well, technically two good things. First of all, Road America is a big track. It will take around 6-7 laps before the Nissans will finally have reached the back of the Audi field. In the 6-7 laps, a lot can happen. That field can get stretched out quite a bit. And also, the straights, they're very long. If you take corners like the carousel, like you mentioned, Sean, the kink, it will be very difficult to overtake there. But in the carousel, it's beautiful to just throw it around the outside, overtake the Audi there. In practice, I could see it several times happen. So with that, I also have the feeling that maybe this is one of the better tracks, actually, to have a multi-class format with these two cars.
I would agree on that one. It's those long straights tend to really help whenever we've covered multi-class racing here as we watch Matthew Jette and now Nicholas Mucanos work their way around. Dirty Torque with a number of drivers making an appearance. Hall, of course, a familiar one for that team that runs out here, Olenek. They tend to bring a lot of drivers out. There's Jamie Hall right there for Dirty Torque running his number 420 machine in the purple and cornflower, I guess you could call that, blue.
Yeah, well, some of the drivers sporting special paint schemes today. Joe, mixing things up a little bit. That's obviously not Phil's normal paint job on that car, but I got to say, everybody looking pretty spiffy for this special event.
It looks like we've got one of our drivers ready to talk to us pre-race to tell us a little bit about what he has in store for his team, for Team Highball Mazda. Stefan Schlacker has joined us in the booth. Welcome, Stefan. Are you going to be running with a teammate out there, or are you doing this one solo today?
Nope, just me.
So coming into this thing, do you have a plan, or are you just kind of winging it? These multi-class races tend to obviously bring a lot of curveballs into things. So is it just take it as it comes?
I had a plan until I put in this 207.3. Now my plan has gone to the moon. So that will be interesting. I'm just gonna take it as it comes for this race, I guess.
Sometimes that's all you can do in racing is just roll with the punches. Watching the qualifying, it seems like a few drivers are still having trouble finding some space out there. Did you have any problems getting a little bit of clear track for yourself?
Honestly, not really. I went out right at the beginning, had the awesome draft from Olejniczuk and Hall, and I just used that and put in a time that's about a second faster than anything else I've done so far.
Just really quickly, Stefan, before the race with only 45 seconds to go, what is your goal for this race? You put the car on pole position, winning, that's the main goal, or are you happy with any podium position that you can get here?
Well, coming into this race, I was happy with probably top 5, but now I just have to go all the way, I guess.
All right, well, best of luck to you, Stefan, and we'll drop you back out of here and hope that you're able to achieve that. That was Stefan Schlacker here talking to us, who will be starting in the GTO classes the seconds tick down. I do believe they will be able to finish their hot laps, even though this should be, Reed just crosses the line in time, so he will get one more in his Dirty Torque team car. Richard Keel coming around in his Aero Motorsport machine. Right now looking at Stefan Schlacker up there on the pole. Obviously surprised even himself.
Yeah, that's... I'm sorry, Joe. I was just going to say that's a really good lap.
Just want to maybe quickly put some emphasis on Jamie Hall that we're currently seeing. Jamie Hall is, of course, one of the Dirty Torque cars on track. He's drafting. It's like we're seeing McLaren Formula 1 team that drafting qualifying. Well, the Dirty Torque guys seem to be able to do that as well. He's quite close with Olinek, although he's a little bit too far to enjoy the draft. He actually opts in to go to the pits. Olinek is probably the last driver that can try to get that quali position of P1, but he doesn't make it with a 2:07.7.
Mukanos is coming up the line now out of the final corner. Another Dirty Torque. How many Dirty Torque guys do we have out here today, actually?
Many. A gaggle.
He is going to cross the line. Currently, he sits on a 2:08.4. Let's see if that improves. No, it does not. So the best he's going to start is 6th today on the 3rd row.
Yeah. It is nice though for these Audi drivers. Whenever I do qualifying like this, where you have to wait quite an amount of time before the race starts, it's really nice that you're the last class that can do the qualifying lap, because that feeling of the car on track, that's really in you. Instead of having to wait 10 minutes, 20 minutes, in which you get a drink or something like that, it's nice to be immediately able to start the race like this. Will be useful for the Audis to really have this feeling for the car still on their fingertips once the green flag drops.
I understand that feeling as we watch Taylor Burris work his way towards the kink here. Racing in the GSRC car. Taylor, one of our commentators here, typically. Now, he's racing for Turn 3 Motorsports. Is this an offshoot of Turn 2 that I wasn't aware of, Sean?
I'm not aware. I missed that. I know there's a Turn 4 Motorsports out there, and I think I follow them on Facebook. But Turn 3 is a new one for me. So we've got 3 corners covered basically out there in the iRacing platform now.
There's a Turn 1 Heroes team too, as far as I understand.
Geez. Okay, well then we've got all 4 covered. We're great.
We got an oval. All right. So that's it for all of our qualifying. We're gonna wait for the cars to grid up, and I'm excited for this one. I got to run this race last year. It was a blast. It was a bit grueling, honestly, with the concentration needed in these cars, but a lot of fun. By the way, if you are watching, again, you are watching the iRacing Esports Network here with the Global Sim Racing channel broadcasting. Definitely make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, because they've got lots of other great series. This might be a one-off, but we are covering the Kamel GT series regularly during the season. So you can see more of this type of racing with the Nissan and the Audi all season long this fall into the winter at the end of the year. Well, I guess it ends before the winter, since it's before December. As we see the cars now gridding up there, the Nissan's going to be split from the Audi, so we won't get any intermingling. All of the GTP cars up at the front. So let's go through our grid, starting on the pole. We are going to as we get the graph, there we go. We have Mind Trick Motorsports starting with the car of Michael Houghton there, starting in first, with Gabriel Lanini starting in the second, or excuse me, Fat Turbo Racing starting in second with Justin Albrecht. The KG Salzburger team starting in third with Gabriel Lanini in that machine, with the Team Bushvik Racing Yellow starting in fourth. Timu Toika will start out in that one. SimSport News Mercedes starts in fifth. Luis Emerton will be in that machine. Team Dave Walsh with, who else? Dave Walsh will be in the car. Portugal, just the name of this team. Nuno Moreira, glad to see him representing his country. He'll start there with KRF Motorsports, having Rob Crouch starting in the car in eighth. Then in ninth, it'll be Sudurera Gato Niro with everybody's favorite from the forums, Mark Pickford, with his cat-themed car out there. Then in 10th, it'll be SimSport News Mercedes with John Keith starting in that car. Sean, what's the rest of the Nissan field?
Okay, we got Outcast Racing Team, Franz Joseph Stum in that car. 12th, it's going to be Screw Loose Racing and Sebastian Richman in the car today for them. And then we go to row 7, Mind Trick Motorsports, the 002 entry, Ben Laughter in that car. And then we've got Mons Racing Red and Jans Roker in that car. Let's see, Outcast Racing Peterson, Klaus Peterson in the car. He'll start 15th. This is row 8. Dirty Torque Peterson, Dave Peterson in that car. So we've got a couple of Petersons to watch out for there. Then we go back to the last row here. We've got 18 great Nissans in the field. Row 9, Vertex Motorsport, Javier Perez. And starting 18th here, the Kamel drivers, 007 entry, Terry Neumaster.
They're on pole position in the Audi category. We just spoke with him, Stefan Slager. He starts the race P18 overall and P1 in the Audis. Next to him on the grid, Jamie Hall in the 420 car, driving for Dirty Torque. Hall, very useful to recognize their names. Behind him, P3 in the Audi category, Olenek, Rob Olenek, and he starts next to his buddy Philip Lake. The first Dirty Torque car, basically breaking up the Dirty Torque squadron there, is the car of Mathieu Jette. He starts in P5 in the Audi category in the Total Downforce Racing White, and he starts in front of Nicolas Mucanos. Another Total Downforce car behind him, Riley Thompson, and he starts side by side with the Pro Drive Shop iRacing team. And that car is being piloted by Franco Scuri. P9 in the category, Team Milan Arnosci is very easy to recognize who is behind the wheel. Milan is driving that car. And then it is Dirty Torque, the final one with Reed Miller behind the wheel. How does the next few cars look like, Joe?
Team Bronislav Robanek, of course, has Bronislav in the car, starting 28th overall. Aero Motorsports has Richard Keel running for them in 29th. And in 30th, you have ROR Performance with Thomas Delmuth starting the race. New Gulf Racing in 31st has Cedric Poyle in the machine. Superheroes in Trading, I love that name, starting 32nd. Jonathan Rodriguez will be starting the race. In the car of Intellectual Property Motorsports G, starting 33rd, it's John Spitt. Then last car on the field, Turn 3 Motorsports has Taylor Burris in the car. And we should mention that Kamel drivers 007 will not be starting the race. I do not see him out on the track at the moment. So we come down to Canada Corner, one of those popular passing spots as the Mustang pace car leads them into that slow right-hander that will then take you uphill into 13 and 13A. And one more corner to go before we get a green flag for 2.5 hours, 78 laps here around Road America for 500 kilometers of racing. Again, welcome to the iRacing Esports Network, the Global Sim Racing channel here, bringing you coverage of this race as they climb up the hill. Getting ready for the pace car to peel off. There he goes, waiting for Houghton to take the green. He immediately accelerates away. Green flag is out, and single file even before they get to the line as they streak down the front stretch with Justin Albrecht taking a look to the outside, going defensive. Michael Houghton trying to cover him off. A little bit of side-by-side behind them for fourth as well. The lead still up for grabs, and I think Houghton's going to have it as they come to 3. We'll get to the Audis in a second. Still working on it. Now he's got it solidified. Let's go to the GTOs. Johan?
Yeah, it was Stefan Slager who already made a single foul coming out of the last corner, but is immediately under pressure by Jamie Hall. He drafted towards the rear. Stefan Slager is trying to defend the inside of turn 1, but Philip Hall just has the momentum around the outside, makes it stick, although they're still side by side going towards turn 2. Jamie Hall cannot get off the grass, and that gives an opportunity to Stefan Slager. Tries it there, breaks later, and this loses him the P1 position. Rob Allenek behind him puts P2 under pressure as well. But it seems like everyone has settled down with the top 3 the same way as they started.
Nobody told these guys it was a 2.5 hour race. Immediately on it for the lead, and it's still in the GTOs. It is up for grabs as Jamie Hall tries to go around the outside of turn 5. Look at him go 3 wide for 3rd place. They're going to come out the other side, but the car in 5th, Mathieu Jette, falling back. Oh, and it looks like Jamie Hall went off, coming off of turn 5. He gets back in line in 4th.
Second time that Jamie Hall touches the grass and just cannot stop touching it again. And this time it lost him a lot more than the P1 position. because he's fallen back to P4. Maciejewski, who we saw in the background, also going wide. He lost 1 position. And that's Nicolas Mukanis, who's now in the top 5.
As those guys settle down, let's check back in on the GTP field. Houghton still leading the way. Albrecht isn't as threatening as we saw at the start, though, Sean.
No, Houghton's got it all figured out here early, Joe. His qualifying effort should have given us a clue. Albrecht right now more concerned about Fat Timo right behind him. Yes, I support Fat Timo too, and he is closing on Albrecht right now and got him right there in the toe and gonna take it easy into turn 1 here, but Houghton starting to open things up a little bit. Got to about 0.3 of a second already.
When Albrecht starts to reel Houghton back in as they come around turn 3 down the Moraine sweep to turn 5. Looks like he didn't get a good enough exit as he's going to be a little far back to attempt to pass down into turn 5. Behind them, Toyka just giving watch. You can see he's separated himself from the car behind. Oh, and I take that back as Albrecht is strong on the brakes, maybe a little too strong. Misses the apex and loses a little time. Let's go to the GTOs.
Yeah, this Rob Olenek trying it on the outside like his buddy tried last time around. Let's see if he can keep off the grass. He can, and look at the exit that he has. Better than Stefan Slachter, who was forced to take the inside. It seems like Rob Olenek has the P1 position going to turn now. Philip Blake, maybe they can squeeze him now because that is, bad missing a gear, I think, Stefan Slachter. Look how he falls back. Immediately Philip Blake takes him, and this is very good news for Rob Olenek because now he has a teammate buffer behind him to the P3 position.
This old Quattro known for having a bit of a finicky gearbox, so not a surprise to see drivers do that. As unfortunately Stefan Schlacher's pole starting to slip away from him. Seems like his race pace not nearly as good as his qualifying pace, at least here at the start. That could, of course, change. You watch him being trying to chase down Philip Blake as he stays within touch of him for now. Not so for Rob Olenek, the dirty torque machine. The number 33 is starting to pull away.
And this is difficult for Stefan Slachter because looking at the top 5 now, the top 5 of the GTO field has 4 dirty torque cars. Olenek, Blake, Hall and Mukanis. He's really feeling like the black sheep here probably because everyone around him is probably working together. Because it would be a great result for the dirty torque guys if they can actually get the whole top P4 area positions filled by all of their teammates.
Right on board with Mukanos, very deep on the brakes, somehow gets it stopped in time. That's Jamie Hall just in front of him in the purple machine. Hall just skulking behind Stefan Schlacher for now. He's going to get a good chance if he could get a run off the final corner. These cars cut a big hole in the air. Schlacher trying to square off the exit, but just misses the apex and misses another shift as here he comes.
Again, man, he probably has to think again how he's shifting in this car because twice in one lap that's hurting him so much, dropping 3 positions because of it. Jamie Hall still side by side going towards turn 1. Who can brake later? It looks like it's Jamie Hall. Immediately covers the apex. Stefan Slachter tries the up and under, gets loose on the exit there and has to give way. Look behind him. Mukanis is seeing that. He's putting it side by side for turn 2. Giving a little look inside, but not able to put it side by side. Stefan Slachter is in front of him, stays in front of him. Will actually be in the draft now with a good opportunity towards turn 3. Once again on Jamie Hall. Following there, doesn't look like he has the overdrive at the moment. Doesn't look like he has the speed as well. Taking a look inside, braking a little bit later, trying to make Hall a little bit nervous. Not able to try that move, and it actually is hurting him because look at Mukanis behind him.
Yeah, too cool of a customer for that. Let's head over to the prototypes because it looks like things are staying close for that second place. Fat Timu putting the pressure onto Albrecht.
Yeah, he is. A little bit more every lap, Joe. Yeah, it's interesting what's happening in the Nissan field, to be honest with you. You've got 2 distinct packs working right now. Of course, Houghton's still very much in command of this, but you've got this second pack back here that Ben Laughter is actually leading. Oh, and there was a change for position there. Nuno Moreira picking up one, making the move on Rob Couch right down into turn 1.
Let's
Nuno,
take a
of
look
course,
at the replay of that. Go ahead.
Nuno, of course, familiar from our Lotus 79 series. Quite a dominant driver over there, and seems to be getting the feel of it here in a Nissan.
I'm not too surprised as we watch him just use that slipstream coming down to the end of the straight, ducks it inside. Textbook stuff there from the Portuguese driver. And I agree, this car kind of noted for being a little bit similar to the Lotus 79, with it using a lot of ground effects underneath to give it the downforce. So Moreira now gets himself into 7th in that 05. Next on the list is going to be Dave Walsh, but it's about 1.5 seconds up the road, so he's got some work to do. Now coming on to lap 4, we got a little ways to go before we get to the back of the GTO field. So they got, what, maybe about a lap and a half more, Johan, before they're going to be on top of them?
Yeah, something like that. The Audis are probably enjoying the peace and quiet of just racing with their own manufacturer mates at the moment. And we had the 5-car battle for the P1 position. It's really interesting. But behind them, well, let's stay with the 5-car battle for now. Stefan Slager is a lot closer than he was last time around on Jamie Hall. The run down towards turn 3. Taking a look on the inside once again, but not braking as late as he did last time around. Ooh, but Jamie Hall misses the corner a little bit. He overshoots it, and this gives a great opportunity to the German. Staying on the inside now. This is a difficult corner to overtake. Turn 6 here. Staying there. They touch slightly. But it seems like Stefan Slachter, again missing a gear. The 3rd time we see it on camera. And that it gives the opportunity. Jamie Hall passes, Mukanos passes. And Stefan Slachter missing the gear 3 times. Being sent to P5. Tries to dive bomb here. A little bit on the edge of Mukanos. Great work from him though. Really strong on the braking, side by side now through the carousel. Mukanos keeps his nose in there, so Stefan Slager cannot go to the inside. Side by side, side by side. Look at Hall in front of them driving away. He is the one who can... Ooh, slight touch there from Mukanos. And he is to settle to stay in P5 now.
Boy, despite the mistakes, Schlager's being really gutsy here today. He's incredibly determined not to give up what he doesn't have to here in these early stages. Though he's certainly going to have to work on those shifts as this race goes on. Down into the Canada corner they go, and go to complete another lap. A little bit farther down in the GTO field, it's been relatively spread out, but it looks like P8 kind of close. In fact, not just P8, but the cars in front of them looks like they might see a change for position. That is Riley Thompson leading the train in 6, followed by Miller, Arnozzi, and Jette.
Yeah, Matti Jette, who fell back 2 positions this lap, falling back a little bit more and more at the moment. But this was exactly what I was wanting to talk about, because you have the 5-car train for the top positions, but this 4-car train is quite exciting as well. Behind him is breaking up a little bit. You have Franco Scuri in the Pro Drive Shop iRacing team. And he's quite away from the Total Downforce Racing white car of Yeti. Currently driving a P10.
Watching Richard Keogh a little bit farther down there in 11th. He's pretty much by himself at the moment, just running his race. Almost what you want at the start of these. However, it's incredibly different over in the Nissan. Sean, give us the update over there.
You know, they've gone line astern, and you know that patience that we talked about over the first 30 minutes? I think that's what we're seeing right now in this field. They've been very well behaved, Joe. I'm shocked. I'm a little surprised, honestly. I thought we'd see a little bit more out of them, but guess what? They're coming on the back of the field now, on the back of the Audis. Those GTOs are now in the windshield of our leader, Michael Howden. How's he going to handle it? Here we go.
All right, as we ride on board with our prototype leader. If you haven't seen a multi-class race yet, when the leader catches the slower class for the first time, buckle up. You can see it's going to happen thick and fast as Rodriguez absolutely pulls out of the way to let him through. Next up in line is going to be John Spitt. And look at how much he gains there in the braking zone. These Nissans incredibly good with the downforce, slowing down as he slips around the outside like Johan mentioned here in the carousel.
Man, so close though. I don't know if you see John Spitt. He almost touched one of the Nissans there when he couldn't keep his Audi on the inside of the carousel corner. It is a good overtaking position as the Nissan is so much quicker. It's also so incredibly tense. Oh, free ride there! John Spitt. I don't know who they were. That was Dave. Was I don't try 2 drivers at least had contact, but all of them could continue.
That was Emerton, who, whoa, and we got an Audi going off that Cedric Coyle That was Emerton being overtaken by Dave Walsh as well, taking advantage of his loss of speed. Gabriel Lamini now caught up behind Taylor Burris. It is all going off as the classes come together for the first time, and Rishman is off.
And we go to a replay of that here. But like you say, so difficult here to navigate the traffic coming here out of towards Canada corner.
This was interesting. Despite all the traffic, that was Sebastian just getting loose in the screw-loose car. Meanwhile, the prototype lead is incredibly close. That really bunched things up there. Houghton has been caught by Albrecht, who has been caught by Toyka.
Yeah, Houghton's just hanging on for dear life at the moment, Joe. Getting through that traffic obviously brought this battle much closer together. Albrecht taking a look to the outside. That's going to be a hard way to get around down here. Going to try and cross him over, though. Ooh, had to get him on.
Houghton blew his engine. Downshifting too quickly. I saw the smoke. I thought it was him locking his wheels up.
It's just behind him.
And Lamini did the same thing.
Oh, no.
Incredible.
Oh, how?
Lamini was the other one you're going to see behind him. Just, it becomes a parking lot on the outside of 5 and 6.
And
look at that.
You can blow a motor up in this Nissan, Joe. We've seen it so many times before, but Michael Houghton to make that mistake? Are you kidding me? Oh.
Well, while we were watching that, Toyka managed to get by Albrecht, who had an off in turn 6. So Toyka has gone from 3rd place to 1st in 1 lap, in half a lap. We'll watch it one more time. There he gets a face full of smoke and oil. And that, even in the sim, that can clog up your windscreen. Look at that, just outbrakes himself a little bit, and the Busch Fink car capitalizes.
And the legions of Fat Timu fans are going nuts right now.
Oh, well, it's an early celebration because did he had a bad shift or what happened there? He actually went off in the final corner. We stay live here. That's going to hand it right back to Justin Albrecht, who's back into the lead. We are only on lap 8 of 78, and it has been just incredible stuff here at the front of the prototype field. Meanwhile, let's go over to the GTOs.
Yeah, I was looking at this for quite a while. Philip Blake trying on the outside of turn 5. He had been putting pressure on Rob Olenek for the last few laps, and this was the first time he was able to put his car side by side. Didn't manage to take him around the outside though, and it's still Olenek in front. But these teammates are putting more and more fighting spirit in their battle at the moment, actually trying to take away that P1 position. And look at behind him though, it's quite a big gap to Stefan Slacher, who actually managed to overtake Jamie Hall 2 laps ago. With a 3-second gap, these two drivers can currently fight quite hard without worrying of a third guy joining the fray anytime soon.
Well, we said this race would require patience, but I guess when have we ever known racing drivers to show patience? As we watch Jamie Hall still working on Stefan Schlacher, who's got himself back into 3rd as they come through the key.
Oh, Pete. Oh, wow. Just got checked up.
Oh, no. Emerton in the wall, in the kink at the absolute worst spot. I think he managed to miss out on most of the worst damage. He's trying to find a space to get back around, just squeaks through.
He was trying to overtake Reed Miller there, who went from the outside, from the inside back to the racing line and just checked up there. Lost the car on the braking.
Had a big smack on the right side of the car. You could see he had to wait a long time. We had another Audi off in a big way. It's Jete off in Canada corner, leaving tire tracks all throughout the gravel.
Good race so far from Monsieur Jete. This is the 3rd time already that he has been in the grass.
He had helped.
Yeah, and his car is crabbing a little bit at the moment, it seems like.
Rob Crouch, unfortunately, just snuck the nose underneath him.
Nothing that Mathieu could do about that. Just an innocent victim there. That will hurt him quite a bit going forward. His car is still crabbing while he's going over the grass, trying to bring it towards the pit.
Moreira just goes to 3rd here in the GTPs. What a fight between him and Dave Walsh and John Keith. They're still getting around some of the Audis here. In fact, that's Riley Thompson they're getting by right now.
Riley giving space there to Keefe, who's going to sneak through. If this is your first time watching Kamel GT racing, welcome and get used to this. This is the sort of chaos that's typical in this series. Morera, though, adapting very quickly to that as he's now in the midst of that battle for third. In the GTOs, he's going to have to go the long way around with Walsh following him through. And it's 3 cars in each class, all for position. Oh, Walsh, can he hold on to it? He's trying. The car stays pointed forward, but he's losing positions as he trundles through the grass of the carousel as cars stream by, and he comes back without hitting anything. My goodness.
Amazing save to not smash yourself into the wall there. But like you say, he loses 2 positions. Doesn't look like he has too much damage, though. He can immediately go forward. He's currently lapping Riley Thompson.
Well, in the meantime, Mark Pickford, how about this? He started in 9th. He is now up to 5th position. That Scuderia Gatomiro car is doing quite nicely out there today. He's another Lotus 79 regular who's decided to jump over for this 80s machinery.
Stefan Slager is being put under pressure by Jamie Hall at the moment. The battle for P3 in the GTO category, while they're being lapped left and right by the Nissans. I think good exit through the last corner now, but you can see this will be difficult for Jamie Hall once he closes up, because once you go for the inside, there might be a Nissan there trying to lap you guys. He's giving it a try though, enjoying the draft, getting closer, side by side for turn 1. Textbook maneuver there from Jamie Hall, and he makes it stick. Back to P3 for now.
Ooh, big wobble off the corner. Oh no, net code! Big net code for Stefan Schlager to get punted into the wall.
Oh man, from bad to worse for him.
We're going to see from above. I'm pretty certain from my angle, it looked like he wasn't even close to that car.
So,
Yeah, there was a little space there. Just awful close racing. That's a shame.
and there's currently smoke coming out of his car. I think it might have damaged his engine.
Oh, goodness, our pole sitter is having an awful day. And the race isn't even a quarter of the way through.
That's both pole sitters. That's both pole sitters now. Think about that for a second.
Well, there's a reason they call it an endurance race. It doesn't matter how fast you are over one lap, you got to make it all the way to the checkered flag. The Team Highball Mazda discovering just how tough that can be here in this frantic series with cars that are incredibly different in lap time. As we watch Olenek. Oh! Our leader going off in the kink and living to tell the tale, but now it looks like he's going to lose the lead. Philip Lake slips on through down into Canada corner. Olenek tries to come back at him. Once again, traffic causing a bit of a headache between the two classes.
I think Rob Olenek can say thank you very much to his guardian angel, because going wide in the kink there and not touching the wall on these Audis, that's insane if you survive that and are able to tell the tale. And lucky for him, he's actually right in the draft of Philip Lake, so right now he actually might be able to just get closer and get the overtake and P1 back in turn 1.
That was Ben Laughter and Dave Peterson. This is a battle for position that just went by them. See a little bit of a defensive move from Laughter, holding to the inside. They let them be. Oh, but we could see a pass here into the GTOs now, because Lake is being attacked by Olenek for the lead down into turn 3 side by side. They are bottling up the car of Klaus Peterson behind them. Is he going to split them down the Moraine sweep? Yes, he is.
Exactly. Great move from Rob Olenek. He was just immediately bouncing on the first opportunity he had. Philip Lake went wide through turn 1 and that opened the door. It was a small mistake, but it was enough for Rob Olenek to capitalize and just immediately get a position back. You see a Nissan there almost spinning. Who was that? It was Gabriel Langlini making his way, trying to overtake Klaus Pettersson. Going wide, going loose in turn 5, but keeping it out of the wall.
It was one of those things you don't want to see, is a car and the other class losing control next to you, since you're not racing them.
Joe, here in the GTPs, Albrecht is really started to pull away from Timo Toike. He's struggling a bit right now, honestly. In fact, Nuno Moreira is starting to catch him at a rate of knots. That's only about 2.5 seconds back to Nuno now. And well, Timu, for the first time, really having a look in his mirror here. And he's, like I said, lost sight of Justin Albrecht at this point. Albrecht getting a bit of a break that last time through traffic and was able to really clear it a lot better than everybody behind him.
Just a reminder, Moreira started this race in 7th. He's in 3rd and gaining on 2nd. Pretty soon, the student will become the teacher, and I'd say that this Portuguese driver is a quick learner.
Joe, Nuno Moreira wouldn't be here. He's here for one reason and one reason only. We both know what it is, and that's to win the race. Exactly.
Oh boy. Yes, he is indeed. He has left John Keefe in the dust, a whole 4 seconds between himself and 4th, as we watch him continue to gun him down. But the first place battle in GTO has not abated. Looks like Lake has gotten past Olenek again.
Just a quick update, these two drivers are Dirty Torque Racing drivers. Well, the team is probably very happy with how things are going at the moment. 4 cars of them are spread out in the top 4. The 5th car is having a little bit of trouble though. That's Reed Miller. He's currently sitting in the pits 2 laps down at the moment. Looking at this battle, Rob Olenek is trying to make a move, trying to make something happen. Diving on the inside of turn 5 now, having a great run. The inside of Phillip Lake, braking slightly later. Textbook maneuver from Rob there. Getting back the P1 position. Although Phillip Lake tries the up and under and is immediately back on the inside here in turn 6. But on the outside here, Rob Olenek has a little bit more momentum and the next corner will go his way. These cars, even though they're teammates, they're putting on a heavy battle at the moment.
Somebody needs to tell these guys they still got about 2 hours of racing left. They're still side by side down into the hurry downs. It's going to be Lake with the inside. Olenek trying to hold him off. He's going to stick his nose in down into the carousel, but lifts as they now finally let Klaus Peterson go around the outside of the carousel.
Clinical, like over my body maneuver there from Phillip Lake. Just not giving up and staying in that P1 position. Great defensive driving from him.
So as they get split up by Franz Stum, who gets through easily. It sounds like we have our pole sitter, actually both of our pole sitters waiting to be talked to. Let's go to Houghton since we haven't talked to him yet and bring him into the booth as we get Michael Houghton mic'd up. Michael, oh boy, what a miserable day to end a race this early on that was supposed to last about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I've been practicing all week, and that has not happened to me at all. I'm just one positive I could take from this is that we have the pace. So when the season begins, I'm sure we'll be up there with the top 5 guys.
Yeah, with this being a one-off, really no championship to console you here, obviously. Did you think that you had the win in the bag without the engine trouble?
I don't think in these endurance races you can really find that out.
Sorry to interrupt. We just saw contact there. Sean, was that for 8th place there?
Yeah, well, it was. And now Gabriel Lanini actually takes advantage of both of them. But Laughter and Peterson, Dave Peterson, have been going at it for quite a while, and Peterson makes the contact there down into turn 5. And, well, like I said, it cost them both that spot. And now we've got... I'm sorry, who's up in front of him? Lanini, Gabriel Lanini. And actually, Lanini is a lap down. That was not for position. So Lanini just getting by them as a result of the contact, like I said, down in turn 5.
Sorry about that, Mike. I'm sure you understand it's hard to find space in these broadcasts for anything.
No worries.
So knowing that, are you looking forward to the first race that we have coming up just a little bit at Suzuka next week?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be practicing as much as I did for here, and hopefully we don't blow any engines next week.
Well, best of luck on that, and I guess you got some time to practice now.
Yeah, I'll be spotting for Bennett. We were hoping to get at least one Mike car in the top 5.
All right, best of luck there. We'll talk to you later, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
That was Michael Houghton, our pole sitter, who is now DNF'd, and we'll continue to watch these battles on screen. We'll go to them if we need to interrupt, but we do have our pole sitter in the GTO ready to talk to us. And Johan, I think you've caught up with Stefan Schlacher.
Yeah, this is not the time of the race that we actually wanted to speak with Stefan. Stefan, I'm sorry to see what happened with you. From my point of view, it seemed like netcode. You think the same?
No, not at all. Not from my point of view. He hit me right in the right rear corner. It's spinning me around.
Well, it's a shame that your race ended so soon. You at least had great battles up until that point on screen, but sometimes it seemed like you had a missing gear shift, and that gave the opponents a chance. Were you struggling with that, or did I misinterpret that?
Yeah, I was a bit struggling with that. I was trying to settle in a rhythm. Obviously was a bit nervous starting from the pole, who isn't? And it took me a while to get into the rhythm, and yeah, shame it ended like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at least, do you have any positives? You had incredible speed. You had pole position. You seem to be the quickest driver out there, even though the Dirty Torque guys seem to be working together a little bit. Is that a positive that you'll be able to take with you to the next season?
Yeah, for sure, especially that qualifying run. I've never been this fast ever in a qualifying run, so that's a major positive there. And then the overall speed. Maybe the setup wasn't quite right yet, but probably 90% there where I wanted to have it.
Oh, very good. Well, once again, it's a shame that you already have to bow out of the race and have to talk with us, but we hope that you can take some positives with you, and we hope to see you again next week.
Yeah, sure.
That was Stefan Schlacker, a pole sitter in the GTO class, who unfortunately is already out of this race. On screen, you saw a pass attempt by Olenek on Phil Lake for the lead in that class, the Audis, as they work their way down to Canada corner now. Oh, way late on the brakes. Is this another attempt? Just sticks his nose in.
Yeah, I don't know if that was an attempt, Joe, so much as it was just he was mesmerized right there and missed that brake just a little bit late. But wow, got that car slowed down so quick.
Yeah, he was around Phil Lake, but was about to be in Phil Lake if he couldn't get that slowed up. But now he's going to get another chance as he's well within the slipstream. Heading up the front stretch, he ducks out to the inside. They're going to be door to door as they come to the braking of turn one. This is a much better opportunity for Olenek. Let's see how he is on the binders. They slow them up. Could see an over-under as Philip Lake tries to get the run off the corner, looks to the inside a little bit. Olenek covers him off slightly, but goes back to the racing line. Once again, side by side. This is about the 50th time we've seen them do that, but it looks like Olenek's going to get it this time.
Philip Lake really had to press the brakes there in the middle of the apex, otherwise he would have understeered into the side of Rob Olenek, but he managed to keep up the speed side by side one more time. But on the outside, this is a difficult corner to pass. Rob Olenek stronger on the brakes in front of him, covering the apex. Philip Lake not able to try and do the up and under. And here in turn 6, it seems like Rob Olenek has consolidated that P1 position.
But for how long? These two so close on pace and not able to get away from one another. So is that settled? Let's go to 8th in the prototypes, where we've got a bit of a battle.
Yeah, well, it was. Dave Peterson finally got it done down into Canada corner, and he was able to get by Ben Lafter. He's dropped Ben now. Up the front straight and down to turn 1. Lafter lost a lot of ground out of turn 14. Yeah, here's the replay, actually.
Into Canada corner. Sticks it down to the inside. Clean move through that 90-degree right-hander. And we should point out that Peterson started in 16th and is now in 8th. What a climb. Let's, however, go to Johan, who's following Taylor in a battle.
Yeah, exactly. It's for P26 overall. There's John Spitt. Oh, beautiful move there. Trying to sell a dummy on the inside of turn 5. And a little bit too beautiful, yeah. Outbreaks himself, and that gives a lot of rest to Taylor there, who was put under pressure for the last few laps. Had to consolidate, had to defend quite a bit. But John Spitz has lost quite a bit of time, could be several seconds behind him. It was a good battle, but now John Spitz has to keep his head down and re-chew down that gap, because he has the speed to make an overtake there if he breaks on time.
Meanwhile, the leaders in this class still going at it as they come out of turn 1 once again. And once again, Phil Lake takes a little bit peek to the inside, but comes back to the racing line. Olenek covering him off. This exit going to be the important one. Down the moraine sweep. He is well within the draft, and that giant hole in the air is sucking him in. defensive move to the inside by Rob Olenek. The New Englander is going to try his best to cover him off. He's late on the brakes as they almost touch side to side. Wow, leaving a big snail trail, and that is going to hurt him off the exit. Unfortunately, Phil Lake is going to get P1 away from him.
Just really clean driving from Phil Lake. He was just on the exit. He was better. He didn't get loose. He didn't have wheel spin, and that gave him that P1 position. Great move to try it there on the outside. But this is a battle, Joe and Sean, that will be going on until the first round of pit stops. Then it will be interesting to see if these guys maybe try a different strategy. Maybe Rob thinks that he's quicker, for example. Maybe Philip thinks that. Tries a different strategy, and then will be able to complete his laps without his buddy behind him trying to draft from him and keep up the pace.
And despite the back and forth, they still have 4 seconds over Jamie Hall, their teammate, the other Dirty Torque driver out there right now. So they're not being run down. They're able to keep this up and not be under threat. Down into Canada corner one more time. This time, Olenek staying in line. And again, overall, the prototypes are already on lap 17. It'll be based on them finishing those 78 laps. So these GTOs, a little bit fewer laps that they have to worry about as we ride on board now with Rob.
It's almost like we're watching a skipping race with the amount of overtaking going back and forth.
That is a great comparison, though. It really is, Johan.
I mean, it is like that every time in the same point they are able to try it another time. You can see Rob Olenek once again in the draft. Just you can see the amount of speed he gains once he in the gearbox. Wow, very close there. Trying maybe a little bit of side drafting there. Oh, once again. And these guys are not afraid to rub some paint between the two of them. Rob Olenek once again makes that move stick, but Philip Lake in the run towards turn 5 now. Ooh, especially if Rob Olenek has quite of a loose mid-corner momentum there. Yeah, look at Philip Lake. This actually might hurt Philip Lake because he's not able to enjoy the draft as much as he normally would be able to. Side by side, once again, I'm getting deja vu moments of 1 lap ago exactly. Basically breaking at the same moment. Will Rob Olenek have a loose momentum again?
That's Albrecht. That's Albrecht right behind him here, on board with him.
Prototype leader slides it up the inside of 6, and that's going to split them up, at least momentarily. If there's one thing we've learned about these two is I'd say that Olenek and Lake just like to have fun, and they're showing it today. They're not really as worried about how each other is racing because they know they can race fair and hard with each other.
Yeah, there Rob Olenek had almost the opportunity because of that overtake by Justin to create a gap to Philip Lake, but then in the braking on the exit of turn 8, he had a big slide once again. And you can see that Philip Lake is immediately behind him again, ready to enjoy the draft and just drive up to him once again.
And we've got a bit of an incident that we missed during this battle. Peterson, unfortunately, discovered that Spit is still having trouble down into turn 5, and he discovered it the hard way. Let's look at this replay. There we see. This will be down into turn 5. The Outcast Racing car is... It looks like we're going to... Here we go. Now I think we've got it. Down into the corner. Once again, same spot we saw Spit have trouble when he was trying to make a pass on Burris. That was a big shunt, unfortunately. We'll watch it one more time from onboard Peterson. Just managed to get by him. And the Audi tries to get right back. While that's happening, the battle for the lead in the GTOs still is going on. Lake now leading as he got by out of turn 3, and they come down the Marine sweep yet again, and they've got traffic coming up behind them. That is actually Nuno Moreira still chasing down Timu Toika.
Just hearing that Luis Emerton is going to park it. Oh, and the contact there.
That was, I don't know if they actually touched, but it was awful tight, Johan.
It was really tight, and with more than 1.5 hours to go, this is actually way closer racing than I would expect at this point. Again, side by side. It's like they want to make it in a highlight clip or something, just keeping it side by side for every corner. You can see the black mist on there, diving it on the inside. This would probably hurt the both of the Audis. That's Nuno Moreira actually choosing to fall back a little bit, keeping it on the outside on the carousel corner. Good overtake from him. That will not hurt this battle on the Audis. Philip Lake right on the gearbox there, right behind his buddy Rob Olenek. Going towards the king now, difficult corner and with a little bit of extra speed because of the draft. So maybe a little bit more, yeah, you have to brake for it. Both cars having a good exit there, good run through it. Philip Lake getting closer. Now he can try a dive bomb here, try and move, but he thinks the better of it. Stays behind him through Canada corner.
No quarter asked, no quarter given between these two. I'll be surprised, honestly, if they have a quarter panel left after this race with how hard they're going at each other. Now, a note about Moreira. He was about 4 seconds back when we looked at him a while ago on Timu Toika. It is now 9.5 seconds between himself and the Finn. So he is, in fact, not gaining on him. And it could be, could take a little bit of pace or maybe some traffic for him to try and catch the Bushfink racer. Meanwhile, P1 in the GTOs is going to change hands again, or will it? Philip Lake tries to go up the inside, but it looks like the brakes are still in favor of Rob Olenek. And now they got another GTO, John Keefe. Oh, don't split them there.
Yeah, in turn 1, Rob Olenek had some understeering problem. He had to step on the brake in the middle of the corner, and you can see Philip Lake, even if it was on the inside, he had more speed. That's not something that you would expect there. Very close there between Lake and Keefe. They managed to avoid each other though, and Rob Olenek has to stay behind him one more time. Mark Pickford is behind him, some more traffic, while the Audis keep it side by side through turn 5 now. Philip Lake is thinking about steering in, but Rob Olenek was there as to choose for the outside. Turn 6, just braking late. Oh, really sending it there, Rob Olenek. No! Oh, Philip Lake, beautiful drift, keeps it out of the wall, can't continue. He loses 2 positions to his teammates.
You can only play that hard for so long. Philip Lake came off the worst of them. Just a racing incident, I'd say.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Great catch here by Lake. Watch this as the car just gets that little bump, uses that 4-wheel drive to power out of it, and thankfully all the traffic was able to go by. Let's watch from the Catman himself.
Yeah, he had a great view from where he was driving. I have to say, it is a racing incident, but if you have to blame, I would put the blame on Rob Olenek here, because he really sent his car there. He knew that he was taking more risk by braking this late. And that bumped his buddy off the track. Lucky for him, Philip Lake can continue. He's actually not that far behind. I wanted to put some emphasis on the battle for P3, which is now the battle for P2. Between Hall and Mukanos. Look at how close they were. There were several seconds between the two a few laps ago, but Mukanos has closed Hall down. And with Philip Lake behind them, there will be a 3-car battle for P2 in the GTO field.
Yes, and looked like a little bit off the apex for Hall through 13A, but bad exit out of the final corner hurts even more for Mukanos. And in fact, I think he's going to lose out to Lake, who's trying to make his climb back to the front. He's not only got more momentum, he's got the slipstream helping him out. He ducks to the inside. His teammate's not going to fight him. Down into turn 1, he knows he's got better pace, or is he? He's holding it around the outside. I guess the Dirty Torque guys just love a good battle.
Yeah, well, the good thing for Philip Lake is he also has to practice, because he has been doing this quite a while now with Rob Olenek. More than Mukanos has been doing. You can see him make the move here. Mukanos will probably immediately be able to get back at him for the P3 precision. Yeah, there he goes. Man, if I was Philip Lake, I would almost think about a different pit strategy or something like that. Take a little bit less fuel, because you do not need 3 full tanks to finish this race. Try to drive alone a little bit. If you know you have the speed, just try something like that, so you do not have to battle with Hall and Mukanos all the time, and they are not able as well to enjoy a draft as much.
You know, that's a good point, Johan. It's definitely a very open strategy in terms of fuel, and they're exactly a third of the way through now in the GTO class. So he could, if he wanted to, pit now and easily make it to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not the end, but the next stop.
Exactly. I actually would think that that would be a good strategy for Philip Lake. On the other hand, if I was Jamie Hall or Mukanos, the moment I see Philip Lake going to the pits, I would follow him, because he has shown some speed that the other guys almost have. Not entirely, but almost have. So if you have your buddy in front of you, and you can just enjoy the draft of him to get some extra speed, oh man, you might actually go for the P1 position.
Meanwhile, look at this battle for position as Peterson and Laughter had to work their way around Jamie Hall and did so successfully 3 wide down the Kettle Bottoms. and nobody came out with any damage. That's usually a bit of a hairy moment with the track weaving back and forth. Now they come to the front stretch. Peterson going to be held up by Olenek, our leader in the GTO, slightly out of the final corner, but not enough to give an opportunity to lap in Line Trick Motorsports 002. Going to have to wait.
Yeah, Joe, those two seem to be a common thread right now in this race, at least till the pit stop. You got to wonder they're probably on a different strategy. Might be on the same strategy. One may follow the other. We'll see, but they're hooked up on track. The battle up in front of them for P5, I gotta be honest, it really it belongs to anybody right now. Rob Couch is hanging on to it, but Pickford is right there on his tail, and Dave Walsh just slightly behind. Walsh had a little bit of a mistake just a little bit back up the track, but he was part of that battle and still is very much.
Yeah, you can see them there in the same camera shot, waiting patiently to see if these two are going to go side by side. They're coming up to the carousel now where these Nissans can really carry some speed with the downforce that they create, but you still want to get a launch off the corner. And boy, Crouch got a fantastic one there. Absolutely left Pickford in the dust off of that turn. Down into Canada corner do they go, and actually Pickford didn't look too good off of that long corner because Dave Walsh is gaining ground bit by bit. I think before long he is actually going to be on the attack on Pickford. So come onto the main straight. Ooh, another bad exit for Pickford. Here we go, Dave Walsh. Oh, and he comes into the pits. Here's that pit strategy we were talking about. So Pickford, first to blink here, at least in the prototype field.
Well, actually, you know what? Klaus Peterson had pit just in front of him. Peterson coming out now, Joe.
Remember, Peterson was dealing with some damage, so that's probably a good call on his part to try and get that repaired while he can. And again, they do not have any fast repairs, so no spare car. You got to sit and wait for the team to bang the sheet metal back into place.
I mean, the GTO field, Jamie Hall was battling with Philip Blake last time around. Philip Blake actually managed to pass him back to P2 for Philip Blake. They actually had some traffic to deal with. There was a Nissan, the black Nissan of Sebastian Rischmann into turn 8. Jamie Hall had to take a wider line and was not able to defend from Philip Blake anymore. And as you can see, Jamie Hall currently is still in the draft of Philip Blake. Philip Blake is trying to look forward because he knows that Rob Olenek isn't that far away. He probably wants some payback because he knows that he can get the P1 position in speed.
Yep, going to be about 3.5 seconds up the road. We'll see if Lake has the pace to try and reel them in. It is Dirty Torque, first, second, third, and fourth out on track. We had a prototype off behind them.
Javier Perez.
Yeah, it was Javier Perez having trouble. That was down in turn 5. Got in a little hot, guys.
He's a little bit down the order, unfortunately. Actually, 2 laps down from our leaders, sitting 14th in the class. We've had a few DNFs already throughout this race as we watch this battle for second continue. We've got Terry Newmaster is out. Jens Rucker has retired. Michael Houghton, unfortunately, gone. Our pole sitter in the GTPs. Reed Miller is out of the race. Matthew Jette. Stefan Schlacker, who is our pole sitter in the GTOs, is gone. And then Luis Emerton has retired as well. The last car on the track, Jonathan Rodriguez, who is 14th in the GTOs.
The first Audis are also making the pits. So Franco Scuri, the Pro Drive Shop iRacing team, is currently sitting in the pits. Quite a bit. It's of course a long pit stop for the Audis. 70 seconds or something like that to completely fill up the car.
After having done several pit stops last night, it's a long pit lane, and man, it just seems to go on forever and ever.
It feels so powerless because you can hear everyone just fly by.
Yeah.
And you can see the F3 fields. You can see the opposition just get further and further away. And you know you will get it back, but still it hurts.
Yeah, especially with those new, pretty new sounds that you can hear with this latest build here. They've enhanced the sound quality, and you hear him zipping by, and it's like, I'm losing all this time in the pit. I got to get out of here.
And Scurry's still in there. He's been in there for a minute and a half. I saw some damage on his right front from the camera shot that we had.
That's all right. He was just giving the car a little attitude. He's making it look mean.
Well, actually, I think it's a fair point to bring up too, Sean, that the long straightaways, I would imagine that damage on these cars does kind of hurt your lap times, would it not?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it will. It's like you said, the long straightaway. Oh, Taylor Burris just had a moment as Dave Peterson was getting by him. That was going into turn 5. Burris almost loops the car. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't turn 5. My bad, guys.
Carousel, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the carousel.
We're going to take a look at the replay. I think just a little bit too greedy on the power, but he knew what was going on and lifted as soon as he saw what was happening. There you see Burris in the red and white GSRC Audi GTO. Understeers off the track, finds the grass, finds the pavement.
Hey, now, I noticed there's a little bit of damage on that car. Can we take that out of his pay for that? I mean, because somebody's got to pay for that.
Our director says yes, so
okay. All right.
We'll see. We'll consult our CFO, see what he thinks. But as Taylor Burris continues on in 11th, it's been a nice climb for him, honestly. He's taken, I think, most of it on attrition, but positions are positions as Dave Peterson now comes in for his scheduled stop, and Rishman as well joins in his black GTP.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk much about the Screw Loose Motorsports team, but Rishman's been having a solid run. Nothing really wrong there, Joe. Patience, there's that word that we've talked about early and probably need to continue to talk about through the end of this race, but those who are most patient will probably be the ones that actually make it across the start to finish line here at the end.
So we watch Justin Albrecht put another lap on one of the GTO cars. He is our leader in the prototypes right now. He is about 8 seconds ahead of Teemu Toika and has not been losing ground to him. So this is good news for Albrecht. We watched him win his first race last season in the Kamel GT Series in the official racing on the broadcast. Let's see if he can repeat the feat in what is probably a pretty important race to get bragging rights on.
Just a quick update about the leading cars in the other categories. Rob Olenek is still in front, currently 3.2 seconds in front of Philip Lake. But Philip, he's on a warpath. 2 laps ago, he did a 2:08. This was around half a second quicker than Rob Olenek, who struggled a little bit with traffic last time around. So the lap times were around the same at 2:09.7. But it seems that Philip Lake is really putting the hammer down at the moment and edging ever so closely to Rob Olenek.
They've got a little bit of clear track right now. They do have Franco Scurry, who is a lapped Audi ahead of them, but at the moment, it's just pretty much themselves. Pickford's going to put a lap on them once they get to the end of this straight. There you see him coming forwards in the background. Again, if you're just joining us, this is about roughly, way wide there at the apex of Canada corner. Jamie Hall, that lets Pickford through. We understand we've had our first driver swap. The number 112. That would be KRF Motorsports, who has Michael Carew now in the car. He has taken over for Rob Crouch. And John Keefe as well has taken over for Luis Emerton.
And our leader has just come in. Albrecht is in, guys. He's in. He's making his way down the long pit lane now.
Actually, no, correction. Emerton is out of this race. Keefe is, they were running the same paint scheme, so apologies for that. You see Dave Walsh there, now up to third. Some of that helped by the pit stops. He is still waiting for his stop. In fact, only 3 of the prototypes yet to come in. That's Albrecht, Toika, and Walsh. They're podium, and Walsh is in now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Nuno had come in the very last lap, so he might be the one to kind of keep an eye on and see how efficient that stop was. But Nuno back in 4th now, and like I said, had just come out of the pits. He's on his outlap right now, in fact.
A little bit faster in these prototypes for their pit stops than it is in the GTOs. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I wanted to say, like, I was actually looking at that, and if you would divide the race for the GTOs in 3 equal parts, you would probably make your pit stop now. The drivers will probably have fuel for, I think, 4 or 5 more laps if they have been saving a little bit of fuel. But if you want to make it nice and equal stints,
oh, and Nuno's off. Oh, and boy, off with him was Javier Perez. Down in a Canada corner, big trouble. Nuno able to get it slowed up before he hits the tire barrier. But not so for Perez, who's got heavy damage on the front of his machine now. Watch Nuno here going to the outside down into Canada. And just misses the braking zone altogether there.
I would almost say that Nuno Moreira did it on purpose, because if he would have stayed in his normal point, he would have hit it. He might have also missed his braking point a little bit, but if he would have stayed in his normal braking point, he would have hit Javier Perez there as well.
Honestly, a great heads up, because he also kept it straight where there was more runoff.
Yep.
He would have hit the barrier like Perez did if he tried to steer into it.
And it seems like he doesn't have any damage, to be honest, either. He's just... he
Yeah,
lost
Nuno,
a few positions, but he can just continue.
Yeah, no, the car looks fine, but he did lose a lot of time. That cost him. He needed a great lap there. That was his outlap coming around, and the leaders had just pitted. It was an opportunity for him there to pick up some time, and well, that opportunity wasted. Now as he finds himself 3 seconds behind Dave Walsh, who's moved into 5th.
In the GTO field, Rob Olenek. I was telling that Philip Blake was actually getting quicker and quicker. 2 laps ago, 3/10 he won. Last lap, 5/10 he won. He's almost only 2 seconds behind Rob Olenek now. The gap is getting closer and closer as Philip Blake tries to pass. It is the car of Michael Carew with a little bit wide in turn 5 there. Philip Blake is getting quicker and quicker. It was not an anomaly that he was quicker for a few laps. He's really having the pace at the moment.
Red Mist is down in that dirty torque machine, that's for sure, as we watch Rob Olenek put another lap on Franco Scurry. Ooh, and Phil Lake was put way offline by Michael Carew, who's now finally able to get by. But all that time that he had gained has pretty much gone away. It was down to 2.5 seconds. It's now 3.2.
Yeah, he was just having the bad luck of having Michael Carew next to him at exactly the wrong moment. He struggled with turn 5. He also struggled a little bit in turn 8. Like you said, that has cost Philip Blake 1 second. But it would be good for him to see that he's actually quicker than Rob Olenek, than his teammate. So even though that he loses a little bit of time now, he might be able to win it back later in the race.
As we watch Jamie Hall have a little bit of a slide on his way into Canada corner. I do want to point out, we were watching Dave Walsh and Mark Pickford before Pickford peeled off for his stop, and he was ahead of Walsh. Well, he came out right ahead of him. The numbers. Yep. Looks like final corner there. Ooh, was there contact with some traffic involved? Or is this by himself? That was Scurry off in the background there. Nope, this was driver error for the 112.
Of course.
Oh, trouble for Albrecht.
In the hurry downs, just out of the hurry downs, and another case of driver error. Sean, it's what we always talk about on the regular broadcast. This looks like turbo lag to me.
It was, Joe. And it sent him right off into that tire barrier. Knocks the whole front end off the car.
Or was it?
Finally able to get it backed up. I thought he was stuck in the barrier there, but boy, he plants it right here.
I'm not sure that it was turbo lag, because he made a really smooth arc into there.
If it was a bad shift then, maybe.
Well, it almost looks like hardware failure.
Yeah, exactly. Like his screen just froze or something like that. This is too smooth to be something with the car almost.
Because the tail doesn't kick out on him at any time. It's like he just steers right into the tires.
It does seem like it just took the left turn, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and that's going to put him in the pits, and there's heavy damage on that machine. That's going to be a long pit stop, and unfortunately, Albrecht's chances of winning, I think, just flew out the window.
Well, have the finish flags been popping up in the chat yet, Sean? Because guess who is leading now?
No, we haven't had a rally cry from the Fat Timu Nation yet. We're waiting for one here.
Right there, he has some great fans out there. Let's see if he can take it to the finish. A little bit of luck helped him up to the front, but the Bushfink car is now in P1.
Rush hour in Canada corner with Franco Scuri, Sebastian Riesman, Michael Carew, Jamie Hall, Mucanos, everyone getting very bunched up there in that corner. Some heavy braking to avoid some people there. But look at that battle for P3 in the GTO category. There was around a second between them a lap ago. Now they're very close, although Jamie Hall is the first one of the GTOs that decides to enter the pits. Oh, Rob Olenek as well, I see. Rob Olenek is in the pits as well. That's our leader in the GTO field.
Meanwhile, things getting close in third place in the prototypes. Mark Pickford has to worry about Dave Walsh. He was as close as 0.2 of a second at one point in this battle. He was hounding him before the pit stops. He came out right as they left off, and he's hounding him yet again. And these two actually are not too far behind John Keefe, who's worked himself into second place.
Get quietly too, Joe. Honestly, I think maybe one of the more quiet John Keefe efforts we've seen here. But listen, Keefe's been getting better. We know that. We've seen it. We've seen the progression. But look at this move. Here we go. Dave Walsh going to send it into Canada. Is he going to cut him off? And yes, Dave Walsh able to hang on to it so far. But, ooh, here we come. Pickford fighting back.
Yeah, I think he was a little too hot into that corner. Oh, but look, Pickford a little bit off. Clips the curb on the exit of 13A. It's going to be a drag race down the front stretch. Who's going to get a better launch? I'd say it's Walsh.
Yeah,
great stuff by both drivers. Go ahead.
When you hit the curb zone like that, you're not going to get a good exit. But the good thing for him, though, is he has the draft. And look at that. He can immediately put it side by side, try and move. But look at all the cars coming out of the pits in front of him. He has to basically brake and give up that overtaking maneuver. Because otherwise he would have rear-ended Jamie Hall.
You said it, give up. That's exactly what he had to do there. He got on the binders really soon. But look at this, what this has done here to Dave Walsh. The Walsh getting stacked up now. They're getting around Olenek. It took him a moment to clear that, though, and that's going to open up an opportunity here for Pickford to get back in this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Pickford was pussyfooting it into the corner. It was just discretion was the better part of valor. As traffic almost brings him back up there, but now, wow, he's getting very clogged up through turn 5. Oh, and we had an Audi into the wall. That was Richard Keel. Not a place you commonly see someone hit, so there's no tires there, just straight into the concrete. What happened here? Just maybe clipped a little grass under braking?
I think that's exactly what you saw there. It was just too many. Those two tires in the grass can never be a good thing climbing the hill.
I've done this a few times in practice, and once you can go out and hit the grass, but you immediately have to go back. And he was just not able to do that because he was overtaken on the left by some Nissans. He had to stay with his wheels in the grass, and that just sent him into the wall.
And that's some pretty bad damage because he's limping his way back off course to stay out of everyone's way. Riley Thompson, in the meantime, is into his stall to get some fresh tires. I'm sure those will feel good after a long first stint. So is Milan Arnozzi.
Philip Lake as well currently in the pits. But that pit exit that we saw from Olenek, from Hall, Mucanos and Lake will have loved that because seconds, if not multiple seconds, because they had to exit with all the traffic around them. Philip Lake is moving again, and we'll be interested to see where he comes out compared to Rob Olenek. Rob Olenek going over start finish now. This will be close. This will be really close. Lake is coming out of the pits now. I think it will be side by side. No, they will not be side by side because look at that gap that Philip Lake has, and that's all because Olenek was coming out with all the traffic around him. He loses the virtual P1 position.
Oof. And so Olenek not only has lost that out on that, but he's still got Jamie Hall behind him that could lose him more time if they start fighting. Now, as this has been going on, one thing that we missed in the prototype pit stops, now that Teemu has inherited the lead, well, even though it promotes John Keefe to second, he's 30 seconds behind our leader. Yeah. Teemu is sitting pretty right now.
Really is, Joe. And you talk about Keefe, though. Listen, Keefe started this race in where did he start? He's picked up 8 spots. He started in 10th, and Man, Keith's got really good pace right now. Dave Walsh is not too far back in the mirror, but this, I would say, again, is a great effort for Keith so far. But that is 30-second difference, 30-plus second difference. That's going to be really hard to make up at any point over the rest of this race. Teemu's really going to have to blow it for something to change.
Oh, and it looks like we got another pitter. Just 2 more drivers to go in the GTOs. One of them in now, Mukanos, and Robinek should be coming in soonish.
Yeah, but just keeping an eye on Mukanos because he was in that battle for the last podium positions with Jamie Hall, and Jamie Hall was low seconds, as did Rob Olenek. I'll be curious to see where Mukanos comes out, because I think that because he had clean air, he actually might be elevating himself to P2. That would be incredible for the driver. He's currently still sitting. Now, this is what we were talking about, Sean. You know that you have the opportunity to make up some positions, but the wait, it just takes so incredibly long. Rob Olenek and Jamie Hall currently on the start-finish straight. Let's see if Mukanos starts driving. Now, I think that this was not enough. He didn't win enough time because he's still rolling down the pit lane, while Olenek and Hall are already passing him. That means that Mukanos will stay in P4.
Well, that completes our first round of pit stops. We talked about our top 3 in the prototypes. 4th is Mark Pickford, the Scuderia Gattonero. Has been running himself up the order. Remember, he started this race in 9th, so this is not a bad climb for him. Nuno Moreira as well, and in fact, he might get this position soon. He's caught up to Pickford after his mistake into Canada corner, but he sits in 5th, having started in 7th. Let's go over to the top 5 in the GTOs. What are we looking at down there, Johan?
Yeah, the first driver at the moment, Philip Blake, after his pit stops, well, he got the lead. And I don't think that he will be very sad with that, because look at the gap that he has at the moment. He is in front of Rob Olenek. The gap is not as much, though, as he probably would have hoped. Probably some traffic will have bunched the 2 up that I missed. Not a second between the 2, Rob Olenek. And this is actually great for us and for the viewers at home, because these 2 will have another stint to battle it out with just the 2 of them. Behind them, it is Jamie Hall. Jamie Hall, who actually, because of all the traffic, still managed to stay close with Rob Olenek. Not that far off the lead either. Doing a good job so far, Jamie Hall. Mukanos, he's the one who had the best, the bad end of that, because look at the gap that he has to his teammates. Quite a big gap between the few. Really driving in no man's land. And then finally, we have one driver that's not a Dirty Torque driver. That's Riley Thompson. Riley Thompson, he is from Total Downforce Racing Black, and he's the only driver that's not a Dirty Torque 1 driving in the top 5.
Meanwhile, in the prototypes, P2 getting very close. Dave Walsh has now run down John Keefe, and Keefe's not giving it up. There was a pass attempt into turn 1. There's another attempt into turn 5.
Whoa.
Keefe's going to give him space at the apex, and once again holds him off. He's not giving this up lightly.
Dave's got to be careful not to, get on it too hard there and spin the car, because, his Pickford's not that far behind, and look who's caught Pickford, Nuno Moreira.
Exactly. Those 2 looking like they may swap positions in the near future. Hopefully there's no undertrade damage from that off that Moreira had, because that could affect his speed a little bit as well as they come onto the backstretch. Walsh just not having that great of a run, unfortunately. So not sure that he's going to have a chance down into Canada corner. He looks a little bit too far back to me right now. But he is deep onto the brakes. Walsh going to have to maybe back up these corners a little bit, get himself a run onto the long straights. Give him one more chance, and then we're going to head to break here soon on the Global Sim Racing channel. As they come up the front stretch, he'll have a little bit of the slipstream. He's looking better this time, but each time he's been rebuffed by John Keefe. The Hoosier has been trying desperately to cling to the 2nd place just in case something happens to our overall leader, knowing that could be the win within his grasp. Ooh, he's a little bit slidey off the corner. hard to peel ourselves away. We were planning on taking a break, but I don't want to leave this battle with it going on as close as it is for such an important position.
Yeah, it's hard to walk away from this one because you keep thinking Walsh is going to put this move on him here, but boy, it really just hasn't come to fruition yet. Oh boy!
Breaks offline by John Keefe, and look at how Walsh followed him through trying to get by Spit. Another mistake from Keefe, this time coming up to turn 7, and there's so hard to pass through there, but it looks like Walsh is going to try and carry his speed, looks to outbrake him down into the hurry downs, but he's chopped off at the nose. Keefe is not having any of this.
Nope.
All right, I think he's pulled away from him long enough here, so let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back after a moment here on the iRacing Esports Network. welcome back to Road America here on the iRacing Esports Network and the Global Sim Racing channel. This is the Kamel GT 500 being led by Teemu Toika in the prototypes and Philip Lake in the GTO. But we had some dramatic developments over the break just as we left the battle between John Keefe and Dave Walsh. They ran into one another down into Canada corner, and Keefe came out the worst of it, lost multiple positions. You're going to see here just the slightest of tips. He spins them around, Walsh having to take off track to get back going once again. And then after that, we had another incident, I believe, with Delmuth, I think we're looking at. Oh, excuse me, Walsh had his own crash.
Yep. Yeah, after that, I don't know if we're going to replay of that, but it was on the exit of Canada corner, just a lap later, I think, where he had the incident with John Keefe. Just as we go into a replay of it now, just following through the kink. Yeah, just losing it on the exit there, sending himself to the wall. Well, Dave Walsh unfortunately immediately left the session. So it's day done for the driver that was actually battling very hard and doing very successfully going for that podium position. You can just see it here, losing his car, going into the walls, and was having none of it. Didn't want to wait for the car to repair. So that's day done for Dave Walsh. Now the other crash that you were talking about, exactly, there was Thomas Delmuth. I don't know if we have a replay of that, but he had some hard contact. Car went flying in the tire barriers, and that's also the day done for the RR performance car. In the GTO category.
Yeah, that was an incident between him and Richmond that caused that. That was that situation in the kink that I was talking about early on in the pre-race. You know, he was slow getting through the kink, and Richmond was coming from behind right there at the kink, and Richmond just caught a piece of the rear end of the car, sitting right in the barrier.
Bad way to end the day. Meanwhile, we're looking at second place here in the GTPs as Pickford has now inherited it after both Keefe and Walsh had problems. That's Riley Thompson they're trying to put a lap on. Going to put a little bit of space between Pickford and the car in third. Right behind him, Morera, who has not been able to leave him. It is basically a double podium for the Lotus 79 crew at the moment here in the Kamel GT 500.
How about that, huh?
Blocked a little bit there by the traffic of Cedric Poyle, but not going to give an opportunity to Nuno Moreira. Bit of a game of cat and mouse here between Moreira and Pickford.
I wish we could have got the preacher here in one of these cars today. It would have been nice to have Juha Nordalampi in the field.
It would have been exciting for sure. He's always fast in the 79. Coming down to turn 5. These two look pretty evenly matched in this car. It's usually Moreira who much has the speed over Pickford in the Lotus, but in the Nissan, it seems like Moreira just hasn't quite had anything for him. He's just been holding on more than anything.
You know what? We left out the champ, Journo. Imagine if Journo had jeez.
Is that a challenge? You calling him out?
I'm calling Journo Freach out. Yeah, I am. Absolutely. He should be here.
I'd love to see him join the fray, that's for sure.
I mean, I don't want to race him personally, not me. I'm not the guy for that job.
Just want to be comfy up in the booth and
Right. Call his races. That's all I have any interest in.
So right on board with Portuguese driver down into Canada corner. Not able to gain any time under braking on Mark Pickford. Not missing anything down in the GTOs at the moment. It looks like Johan, the pit stops really spread things out over there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Philip Lake and Rob Olenek, man, if I was a betting man, I wouldn't know who to bet for. I think it's a 50-50 split between these two who will win. Philip Lake has the track position at the moment as he slides a little bit towards through turn 3 there. He has the track position, but he doesn't have the speed at the moment, although there's almost nothing between the two. Look at those lap times. Only 0.06 of a second between them last time around. Lap before that, only 0.005 of a second between the two. But both of those in favor of Rob Olenek. Rob is getting a little bit closer, but with the speed that he's doing at the moment, those are baby steps. He is quicker. That means that Philip Lake isn't extending the gap like he was doing when Philip Lake was actually following Rob Olenek before the first pit stop. It seems like Rob Olenek has actually found some pace, keeping his head down, trying to put more and more pressure on Philip Blake, because as long as that red car doesn't disappear from the mirrors of Philip Blake, which it currently obviously is not doing now, Philip Blake knows that he is there, ready to strike.
Certainly seems to be the case, as he's just been holding on, watching, waiting for the opportunity. Mistakes can come, traffic can come into play, certainly. So a lot of racing left to go.
And one thing that I actually think is quite interesting is the pace that Jamie Hall currently has. Jamie Hall was almost 0.2 of a second quicker than both Rob Olenek and Philip Blake in qualifying. But he's not able to really transfer his qualifying pace to race pace. Last time around he was almost as quick as the two in front of them. But look at that gap, 5.5 seconds behind them. It seems like Jamie Hall maybe has a little bit less consistency, or has a setup that is not as consistent as the other two are. Because while their lap times are very flat, almost the same every lap time, Jamie Hall is not able to do that, and he's losing track position because of it.
Meanwhile, up in the prototypes, let's give a little bit of love to another Dirty Torque driver, but not in the GTO class. The number 35 of Peterson. Dave Peterson started 16th. That's second to last in this field of prototypes. He is now currently sitting 6th. This is, and it's not been with a lack of fighting. We've saw him in some battles. Yeah.
Ben Laughter, particularly, for forever. Him and Laughter were battling together for the longest time, for most of the first third of this race. And yeah, man, what a great drive. Hanging on to 6th place right now. Got to be nothing but excited about that.
Yeah, hats off to him. Meanwhile, 2nd place is getting a little bit close once again. Mark Pickford sees Nuno Moreira getting bigger in his mirrors down into turn 5 as they put another lap on Jamie Hall, the 3rd place GTO driver. Up to turn 6, Pickford able to navigate safely enough to keep the Portuguese driver at bay. They can have a little bit more traffic in front of them with the leaders.
Now, I've got an interesting thought here, okay? Is Nuno saving a little bit behind Pickford? Or is Nuno actually got some under-trade damage like we suspected earlier after that hard trip down into Canada Corner? Something's up here, because you would think with Nuno Moreira that naturally he's got to overtake Pickford at some point, but he's not been able to do it. He's been able to get close, but he's not been able to come around.
It's going to be a big chance. Pickford being held up by our GTO leader, Phil Lake, who's in the way of his fellow countrymen. And just like that, Nuno Moreira finally pounces. Move him up to P2.
Scratch everything I just said. So, but that was that situation in the kink, and you're seeing it on the replay. You know, Phil can't do anything there. He's just trying to get through there the best way he can. And you get those Nissans screaming through there in that no-lift strategy. It stacked him up, and now Nuno Moreira has 2nd place.
I mean, I can understand that he tries to move there, but it's so incredibly risky to try and do it there. You know you're quicker in that corner, huh? The Audi has to brake, they have to lift like crazy, you're flat out in the Nissan. But trying a move there, man, that's really courageous. Might have been better of course, hindsight is 2020, but to wait a little bit next time.
Yep, with the momentum that you have on that high-speed kettle-bottom stretch, certainly hurt coming through the kink, lacking that speed. You can see now Moreira's black GTP car pulling away by about a second. Let's see now that he's in front, if maybe he can actually gap him. We'll find out in a little bit.
Here's the problem. Teemu Toika has gotten out to even more of a lead now, Joe. 40, going on 44 seconds.
He's almost half a lap ahead at this point. This has just been a stunning drive by Teemu Toika. We saw him up with the leaders at the start of the race, so this is not a case of him just stomping the field and having nothing to do the whole way. He was in the battle for the lead in the early hour or so, and then suddenly the two that he was fighting fell by the wayside. Busch Fink proving again and again just how good a drivers that they have in that stable, that enormous stable that just seems to continue to, yeah.
You were reading my mind. It's exactly that. So I was like, they got a ton of drivers over there, and they're all good. They're all not good, great.
I guess it would be more like a nest, wouldn't it be?
A nest, a commune, a collective.
Oh, it's the bushfink
incubator.
Their bird.
A bushfink incubator.
Yeah, there it is. A colony. All right. Well, the bushfink racing yellow car, which is ironically orange, is up leading the way. Meanwhile, we're looking at Rob Olenek, still about a second behind the Dirty Torque car of Phil Lake. These two have been inseparable if you're just joining us. They have had a titanic battle, and this is about the calmest it's been the entire hour and a half we've been out here.
Yeah, but the cool thing that you actually can see, I don't know if you guys caught it as well on the start-finish race, Philip Lake is actually swerving. He knows that Rob Olenek is on the verge of being in his draft. He's actually trying to break the draft and hurt Rob Olenek a little bit. Because Rob Olenek is getting closer and closer, especially with the traffic we saw last lap. You could immediately see that Rob Olenek was the one who got the right side of the coin flip there, and he gained quite a bit of time. Also, I've been looking at these two drivers for the past few laps, and it's interesting to see that they both have very different approaches. Rob Olenek, I would almost say that he's like a Jensen Button style driving, very smooth, not making a lot of mistakes. Philip Lake, quite the opposite. He seems to throw his car in the corner a little bit. Sometimes actually trail braking a little bit, leaving some tire marks there. Really quick on the exit because of that. Even though they have different ways of driving, they're almost as quick as each other. It's very cool to see that even with the two different mechanics, they get the same amount of results.
Hey Johan, I have a Jensen on my wheel.
Really?
A Jensen Button. He's got on his wheels. You've been hanging around me too long, apparently. We still got half a race to go here, and we're already getting a little bit loopy. So as they come down towards the kink, Rob Olenek continues to give chase. They're on our leader in the GTOs. This has been quite an exciting one in the slower class between these two. It was exciting at the start, as I mentioned not long ago, for the GTPs, but that has since gone very distinctly to Toyka. Really, the close fight was for second place not long ago. Let's give a little bit of an update on that. Moreira, now that he's gotten by, well, I wonder if a little bit of the buffeting of the car ahead is what was slowing down the Portuguese driver.
Yeah,
he's now got 3 seconds.
Yeah, he's just totally dropped Mark now, and Nuno's focusing on the task ahead, and that's somehow trying to find a way to catch Teemu Toyka, which I will be honest that he's cut a little bit into that, but it's still 43, just under 44 seconds. He's got a ways to go. But yeah, no, he is definitely enjoying the clean stretch of track he's got in front of him right now. Absolutely no pressure from behind.
We were talking about Dave Peterson not long ago praising his run. He's not going to sit still at 6th place. He's now looking at 5th. He's run down Ben Laughter, and it is about a 1.5 second gap between the Dirty Torque car and Mind Trick. Boy, you talk about a McLaren versus Ferrari or a Penske versus Ganassi situation. Mind Trick versus Dirty Torque. This is going to be fun when these two get together.
Well, the one thing that I'm actually very impressed by Dave Peterson is look at his lap times. When he started the race, he was doing high 56s, but during the event, getting those hundreds of kilometers down, he really found his pace, his rhythm, because he's actually able to do 55s now. He's gotten almost a second down on average since the beginning of the race. So while the race is going on and maybe drivers are getting tired, Dave Peterson is not getting slower. He's getting quicker by the minute.
The only thing that disappoints me is, even though I do like the Mind Trick paint scheme, the Nismo paint scheme out here today, they don't have, there's no Sega Genesis, there's no Blockbuster.
Yeah. No Atari, no nothing. Actually, I like what everybody did with the with their paint jobs for this race. Give us a little bit of different flavor. Again, I like what the Dirty Torque guys did with their cars. And Joe, I've been privy to some of the previews for season 4 on some of the liveries. We've got some new liveries coming for next season.
I was just thinking, as this battle might be heating up here, Philip Lake caused a little bit of a checkup for Ben Laughter, and now Peterson even closer He's going to have a bit of a slipstream up the front stretch. But a defensive move from Ben Laughter means he'll have the inside line, weaving back into the slipstream after he gets offline momentarily. Dave Peterson hard on the brakes down into turn 1, but not good off the corner as he loses a little bit of ground.
He dived away from the draft very early in that move. I would say that he should have stuck in that draft maybe a little bit more, so he could have tried a move in turn 1, but maybe that was his plan, because now once again he's in the draft going towards turn 5. Doesn't seem to be able to close the gap down though. Still quite a way behind Ben Laughter, but he is quick though. You're seeing that, and he's putting more and more pressure on Ben.
Sean, I was about to say before the battle got a little heated there, but an idea I had as we go to second place, because that is starting to heat up. And actually,
yeah, Pickford just got by Nuno.
And you know what? It was almost the exact same situation. Morera caught up by traffic just a few hundred feet beyond where Pickford got caught up.
Yeah, Nuno tried to move back to the right. Can't do it. You'll see it here on the replay. Nuno tries to go to the right there. He can't. He's pinned in because Pickford's right there. And Pickford sends it into Canada.
I tell you what, though, credit to Nuno for seeing that coming. If you were a lesser driver, would have been so focused on the lap traffic ahead, he would have dove out in front of Pickford, and you would have had probably one of the biggest shunts you've ever seen down in the Canada corner when he hit him.
Also clinical from Mark. Just he sees that one opportunity and he immediately bounces on it and he gets it done. Really good driving from both the Nissan drivers.
So
and then Laughter and Peterson are still into Canada. They're fighting door to door, and Peterson relents, but boy.
And in turn 1, though, he's got the inside. Peterson gonna make an attempt. Let's see if he can get it done. Laughter tries to carry the speed. A little bit of a wobble off an acceleration for Dave Peterson. Trying to get it done now in turn 3. And he's got it now.
Oh, such smart driving from Dave Peterson there. I don't know if you caught that, but on basically on the point where you turn in, he just went a little bit to the driving line, a little bit towards him, and that prevented Ben Laughter from steering in at the moment that he probably would have wanted. But the draft is helping him, putting it side by side very late in the braking. He actually manages to slow it down on time, though. Impressive stuff from Laughter there. And look at the amount of space that Dave Peterson immediately loses.
Sean, that looks a lot to me like Peterson running a little more wing than Ben Laughter is.
Yeah, Joe, and we haven't even talked. That's the first time any of us have brought that up, and boy, that can make a difference in speed in this Kamel GT series. We see it week in, week out. And these guys are open set, and some go one way, some go the other, and it can cost you. Or it can help you, one or the other.
Well, Peterson's got it all to do again after finally getting that pass done. He had it for about a corner, unfortunately. So let's see if he can maybe rerun him down. In the meantime, the Portuguese Nuno Moreira still holding on to the back of Mark Pickford, who got held up a little bit through turn 3 with Cedric Hoyle. Last time it took a little bit of traffic for him to get by him. Let's see if he'll need that again. That car behind them, that is Gabriel Lanini. He's a lap down from these two, so that's not for position.
Pickford just trying to guard against the mistake. Nuno's starting to fill up his mirror.
Another thing we should point out, this battle for the podium, pretty safe unless they have a big problem, because John Keefe, the number 71, is about 14 seconds back. His issues that he had a little bit ago with Walsh meant that he's unfortunately fallen off the wagon a little.
Oh.
So it sounds like the battle for the lead and the GTO's changing, but not in the way the audience might have wanted.
No, probably not. Rob Olenek is falling away. As you can see on top of the screen, 2.2 seconds between him and Philip Lake, who we see on screen at the moment. Rob Olenek just not able to really drive the lap times that Philip is able to do last time around. 3 turns quicker Philip Lake was. So yeah, the gap between them getting closer and closer. Now Jamie Hall is around the same speed last time around as Rob Olenek, so also not a lot of difference between them. And P4 at the moment, Nicolas Mukanas, he's falling away more and more. He's not able to keep up his speed as much as the rest of his teammates are doing, the rest of the Dirty Talk drivers. He's around half a second slower than Jamie Hall.
So 30 laps to go here in just a moment. Toika going to complete this lap, and it's getting closer to the end now. Drivers thinking about their second pit stop, trying to figure out what's the best way to get this car to the end. Window should be opening soon for the GTOs.
Exactly, and that's actually the thing that I'm the most curious about at the moment is how are those pit stops going to play out? Because the drivers have shuffled their cars. They have decided a pit stop strategy, a fuel strategy. But who will be the driver that's able to have the least amount of fuel at the moment? And maybe gain a little bit of time that way, and especially for the lead in the GTO category, that will be really important, because even though it's stretching at the moment, it's still only 2 seconds. So that actually might be a lot of difference in it.
And the lap times do change as they go on for these Audis, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, if I was Rob Olenek, pit as early as you can and try to get maybe a few fast laps and hope that Lake isn't watching his mirrors.
Yeah, but it's so difficult though, because if you try something like that and you're unlucky, just like Rob Olenek was when he came out in his first pit stop, and you're right in the traffic situation, your good strategy and your good ideas will just be ruined and you'll lose everything.
Got Klaus Peterson coming in from 8th in the GTP field. Not been the race quite that he wanted. He is a lap down, but he's still going. For some of these drivers, just seeing the checkered flag as the important part. Franz Stum also in. Really like this paint scheme. Very simple on Franz Stum, but very pretty.
Yeah, nice gradient.
So those two in for what we believe will be their last scheduled stop. So we watch third place continue to fight it out. Herrera doing exactly what we saw before, which was holding station at about a second back. And I can't remember if it was Sean or Johan that brought it up, but someone was asking if he's saving fuel. I would think that he's too far back for that really to be effective.
Yeah, I agree. There's probably too much distance between the two cars to really save fuel. If you want to save fuel, you actually have to be a lot closer. You can lift off in the draft and make sure that you don't use as much that way. At the moment, he's probably using the draft just to cling onto his rear as much as possible and keep that gap to only 1 second, but is not able to save fuel that way.
5th place starting to close in. Ben Laughter has Dave Peterson trying to see if he can pry a top 5 away from him. He was close through turn 3, but a bad exit onto the Marine sweep. And Peterson's got to wait for another opportunity. But for the second corner in a row, Laughter just a little bit off the apex. This seems to be allowing Peterson to keep hold of him. So work their way as we ride on board Dave Peterson down into the Hurry Downs in turn 8.
Quite a different racing line through the carousel corner. Dave Peterson completely using the outside, having more speed, more momentum going in, while Ben Laughter opts to completely hug the inside line. Not a lot of difference between them time-wise. The gap seems to stay around the same. But as we can see with the battle from Morera and Mark Pickford for P2 in the category as well, the gap stays a little bit the same in front of them. It's an Audi going wide. It's Cedric Poole on the new Gulf Racing machine. Maybe 21st overall. Not really fighting anyone close by. This battle goes on. Peterson having a good exit, slightly wider line through turn 14 there. That hurts him a little bit here. You can see that Ben Laughter immediately drives away. And that the draft will help Peterson to close up. But yeah, that's the old racing rule. Getting closer to one is to another driver is one, but getting faster is a lot harder.
And going back to the point we were talking about with setup here, Sean, it looks like Peterson is coming into the corners very hard. He keeps gaining just like this. You can see here. And then his corner exits don't seem nearly as good as Ben Laughter.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe he just needs to focus more on slow in, fast out?
I think you're right. I think that might be a strategy to get himself around Laughter, but he hasn't shown the ability to do that yet. So, and then right there makes a bit of a mistake in turn 5. Who hasn't made a mistake in turn 5? But this keeps going back and forth. I think Morera's got the same problem up there in third. To be honest with you, I think Morera can get close to Pickford, but he just seems to have a problem pulling it off, and I think it's got something to do with their setups, Joe. To be honest, it's either in the setup or they've somehow acquired undercarriage damage on the car.
Mark Pickford is coming in though, while Nuno Moreira was held up by some lap traffic in the last corner. It was Mucanos. That's probably a really good moment to make a pit stop for Mark Pickford.
Exactly. Try to get that little bit of gap for yourself. So we see the Suriro Gato Nero car come on in. Going to be finding his stall. You get a sense watching these long shots that Dougie gives us how long the pit lane is. Just forever. As soon as they come down come over the crest, they have to wait and wait. And now he's on the jacks to get fresh tires that should take him to the end of the race. This is our leader in the GTO, still waiting on his second stop. Only a handful of cars have come into the pits for their final stop for the race, and pretty much all of them are GTP cars.
I can understand that though, because you want to try maybe tire-wise cut it in 3 equal parts, and 2 laps from now that will be the moment that you're exactly done with 2/3 of the race. That's probably when you want to come in and make your final pit stop. Interesting to see that Mark Pickford actually chooses to go a little bit earlier in the pits to make his pit stop. Might be that because of that he wants to break the draft with Nuno Moreira and really extend his lead towards for that P2 position.
All right, he is in and out. He is going to return to the track in at 6th spot. The driver he was racing, Nuno Moreira, coming around on some traffic at the moment. Let's see if Nuno tries to put in fast laps or if he decides to come in immediately.
No, I think he's digging about as hard as he can go right now.
I think if I was Nuno, I would try to do the opposite of what Mark was doing, because he's seen it's a known factor that he struggled when he's right behind him. So
yeah,
try something different.
Well, we saw that when Nuno got around Pickford earlier, when they got through that traffic and Nuno got to second, he was great when he had Pickford behind him. In fact, he was gapping him, and I think you're right, Joe. I think Nuno needs to try and stay out here for a couple more laps and see what he can do. Maybe just open that gap a little bit more. Boy, that was a 2-minute lap for him around that time.
Must have been some awful traffic.
It must have been to lose, what, 5 to 6 seconds right there?
Yeah. That will hurt him incredibly once he makes his pit stop as well, because that 5 seconds that he loses, his rival won't have lost that amount of time, so he will be far behind him once he makes his pit stop.
Now, about a minute ago, Jamie Hall had a big incident with Javier Perez. Now, they're both able to continue, but as Perez was exiting the pits, I think we're going to be able to find it on replay here. Hall was trying to go into the corner, and it's all... Here we go. Now we'll see it. It's coming up into turn 1 here, so it's at the end of this straight. You'll see Javier in a black prototype. That's not the one in front of him. He'll be coming out of the pits just ahead. It almost looks like Hall didn't expect him to be at the apex at that point. Thought that the faster class would be through the corner by now. And it just turns in. Hard side swipe. Hopefully he doesn't have any suspension damage from the touching wheel to wheel like that.
Yeah, we're seeing it from above here. Just trying, like you say, Joe, just trying to go for the inside of the corner, but there's another car there, and that's well, two cars in the same place. It's not going to work. He lost quite a bit of time to Nicolas Mukanos, but he's still in front of them. I think there's around 2.5 seconds between the two at the moment. So you can see the purple car of Jamie Hall there. There's a car between them. That's John Speed. Currently driving 22nd overall. The last car, driving car on the field. Behind them, just behind them, there's Nicolas Mukanos. Very close between the two.
Guys, John Keefe just rolling in to the pit lane now, trying to find his box. Nuno Moreira decides to stay out for another lap. So does Teemu Toika. Toika now got a minute, just over a minute advantage on Nuno Moreira. And there's, again, Moreira continues a less than quick pace with a 1:59.4 on that last lap.
Also want to point out that Ben Laughter has been in and out. He's taken his scheduled stop.
For the last 3 laps, Nuno Moreira has been slow. 2:59ers and 1 2-minute lap time.
What's going on there? I'm curious. We didn't see him hit anything. Not recently, anyway. And I know we suspected he might have had some under tray damage on that Nissan, but boy, he is really off. All of a sudden, like you said, over these last 3 laps, it's just dropped way off. And Teemu Toika, guys.
And the bad news for Moreira is Pickford just set a 1:57. This is not looking good for Nuno. All right, we've got a new driver in that Team Bushfink Racing yellow car. Toika's gotten out, and James King has gotten in to finish things off.
James King going to take it home. I thought he was just all talk in the chat.
All right, here we see Moreira coming around the last corner, and he is pitting this time. Oof. He's got about a snowball's chance, and you know where, to get past Mark at this point, I think.
Very weird though, because I actually went looking through his laps, his last 3 laps, but I don't see he had any incident. Might be something that he suffered with earlier. Of course, he had some traffic that he struggled with to get around, but 3 times in a row. What we do know is that he lost a lot of time towards Mark Pickford, who's currently going around the carousel. And Pickford will be able to go past him once he gets out of the pits.
Nuno finally slams it into his box for a stop. Car's up on the jacks, and you can watch Pickford's trip here through Kettle Bottoms and down into Canada.
What we saw on screen, he actually got held up significantly by Arnozzi. Not quite as bad as he did by the other driver back when he lost his spot to Moreira, but still, there was a big checkup through the kink. All right, Moreira still in his stall, and Pickford already got a head of steam up the hill. Yeah, this is easily got it, because Moreira still hasn't taken off.
Not even moving yet.
In fact, Moreira at this rate might have to worry about John Keefe.
Well, especially with the speed that he was showing the few
Here
laps
comes
before.
Keefe.
Yeah, he's still in front of him, but with the speed that he has been showing before his pit stop, if he keeps driving like that, John Keefe will be at his gearbox in two laps time.
Looks like the gap going to settle out at about 4 seconds between Keefe and Moreira, so not going to lose it at least on pit exit, but like you said, could have problems later on. Meanwhile, Riley Thompson in our GTO class, which we haven't looked at in a while.
No, I just saw Philip Blake having a big moment in the kink, going over the grass, but yeah, he managed to keep it straight. I don't think we have to go to a replay for that. As you can see, Riley Thompson was going into the pits. He was currently P5 before he made his pit stop. He was overtaken by Milan Arnozzi. That's a driver we haven't talked about a lot today. He's having a quiet race, driving a little bit in no man's land. He is fighting for that P5 position with Riley Thompson. And I think that at the moment he will not be close enough to actually make a move on that. Now, a thing that we saw a few laps ago was, of course, that crash between Jamie Hall that he had into turn 1. And I think that has damaged him, guys, because look at the gap between him and Nicolas Mukanos. That has diminished incredibly. Jamie Hall is able to only drive 2 minutes fence at the moment. That's more than half a second slower than Mukanos. So every lap Mukanos is closing that gap, and I think that is currently around a second between the two. 2 laps from now, I think Mukanos will try an overtaking maneuver for P3.
I have no doubt that the number 46 of Nick is going to want to get himself onto the podium here. If he can squeeze by Jamie Hall, it is his for the taking. And he's got a lot of laps left to do it as we watch him stalk him down the back stretch, down the moraine sweep towards turn 5. Getting close now to 20 laps to go left in this race. Again, if you're just joining us here on the iRacing Esports Network, this is Global Sim Racing Channel coverage of the Kamel GT 500 here at Road America.
Well, I'll tell you what, this race has not been without excitement. Things have slowed down a little bit right now, but we've still got cars that need to make pit stops, Joe. And, well, as the traffic is spread out, it seems like the pit stops bring everybody back together. So plenty of action left here over these last now 25 laps.
Yep.
We're still looking at a battle between Jamie Hall and Nicolas Mukanos. I'm actually wondering, where is Jamie Hall losing that time? The little bump might have bumped his, might have damaged his top speed a little bit. Following Jamie Hall, it also seems that maybe his suspension has a slight knock to it, because he doesn't seem that certain anymore, that smooth. More often than not, here again, he slides through Canada corner. He's just not able to be as smooth as he was early in the race. It seems to be more of a handful, his Audi, than it was in the opening stages of this event.
Now right on board with Mukanos, we'll get a really good feel for how the car is behaving ahead of him up onto the main straight. Little by little, this has been incredibly consistent that Mukanos has been reeling him in. You can see him poking out of the slipstream momentarily, just getting into the mirrors of Jamie Hall.
This is a great view for Mukanos. He was actually the quickest Audi in the field last lap around with a 2:19.0. Man, that view of a car in front of you, and you know you're quicker, and you know you're getting half a second quicker each lap. It's a great motivating feeling. Through turn 3 here, very wide, almost a loose exit from Jamie Hall, but he keeps a lot of momentum there. Mukanos in the draft though is able to edge ever so closely. Will he already try a move here in turn 5? He probably is able to try a dive bomb here, but he knows that he has the speed. He doesn't have to do it yet, and he can just put his teammate under pressure.
And he's already getting mistakes out of him because Hall was sliding all over the place through turn 5. This is looking very good for Mukanos right now.
You know, in this type of an endurance race, you really are waiting for the mistake, or at least you should be, right? Don't press too hard with just over 23 laps to go. Just stay there in his mirror. Maybe poke him in his side every now and then, let him know you're there. But that, again, the mistakes will happen if you're patient enough to wait for it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he doesn't even have to wait for mistakes, because he knows that Jamie Hall just has a damaged car, and he won't be able to defend as well as other drivers will be able to do. Going through the kink now. Oh, very wide Mukanos there. Man, that car gets extremely loose if you touch the grass there. He keeps the throttle planted, it seems like. Doesn't lose a lot of space to Jamie Hall. Once again, Jamie Hall gets a little bit loose if we can in the corner. There's a Nissan poking in behind him. That's Mark Pickford. P2, of course, driving away from Nuno Moreira. Oh, man.
Pickford had a horrible moment there coming up the hill.
Yeah, really got checked up there. Great stuff from him to keep his car in a straight line, though, not spin it around there. Look at that. Mukanos is quite a bit away from Jamie Hall now. Yeah, we're going to a replay of that incident now.
It's the hands.
Good catch by Mark Pickford, and now he's going to dispose of both those cars on the front stretch nice and easily. Let them continue their battle without hassle. If I was Mukanos, though, both Mukanos and Hall have yet to pit. I'd say Nick needs to come in now and not mess with this any longer.
I mean, I agree with you. That's probably the smarter thing to do. But as a racing car driver, you want to make that overtake on track, not in the pits. And he's actually trying to do that at the moment. Going on the outside towards turn 5. Jamie Hall, a very big slide for turn 3. Can Mucanos capitalize on that? He brakes later. He has the outside. He has more momentum. Will be able to touch the throttle earlier here. Side by side, drag race towards turn 6. Nothing between the two. Again, the outside line for Mucanos. If he can keep it here, he has the inside for turn 7. He is unable though. Once again, he touches the grass. Tries it, round 1, but not able to make a move yet.
We had an issue with Sebastian Richman coming into Canada corner. Self-spin as he was following our leader. I'm sure James King's happy that it happened behind him and not in front. You're going to see a couple of long tire marks here out of Canada corner as the rear just comes all the way around, and Sebastian has to try and power the car back straight forward and get it going again.
Would have been a beautiful slide if he had saved it.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, I guess, when it comes to racing.
Ooh,
now,
but wait, Mucanos is getting an opportunity because of some traffic. Jamie Hall had to go wide because John Keefe standing on the inside, and that's all that Mucanos needed to get that P3 position.
Take a look at the replay on that one. This again was down into Canada corner. There's that traffic coming through. Trying to get a little bit of a slipstream of him going offline. Oh, and it looks like it was Keefe actually causing the issue, putting him offline. Great opportunistic stuff from Mucanos.
Yeah, exactly. He had one opportunity and he got it. Looking at Jamie Hall now, he got extremely close in turn 1. Had to really check up to avoid rear-ending Mucanos there. I have the feeling that Jamie Hall is overdriving a little bit. He has a damaged car that's hurting him. He's trying to compensate by trying to get more out of the car than you're actually able to. Look at that, putting the tire tracks down there in turn 3. He's trying to get more out of the car than you're able to, and he's losing a lot of time to Mucanos because of it.
Podium celebration slipping from the grasp of Jamie Hall now as Mucanos streaks away here with just over 20 laps to go in this 2.5-hour race. So Dirty Torque, despite being the dominant team, has given us quite a show, so can't thank them enough for that. Never like to see team orders. They've been making sure to give us lots of excitement out on track as we watch our leader, Phil Lake, now at a 10-second gap over Rob Olenek. The number 33 has been losing ground hand over fist. And that's not necessarily Philip Lake that's doing a good job. Of course, he's doing a good job because he's consistent. But it's also Rob Olenek just slowing down. At the beginning of the race, he was quite consistent in the 209s. For the last, I say 6 laps, only 2 of them were a high 209. The rest of those laps were 2-minute 10s. So it means that Rob Olenek is almost a second slower than he was at the beginning of the race. He's really dropping the pace at the moment. I was going to say, before you added that addendum on there, 10-second lead, and you say he's not driving a good race. I'd hate to have you as my crew chief. High expectations.
Oh, Taylor Burris guy's off in Canada corner. I'm afraid he's hurt the car.
Looks like turn 1, actually.
No, I'm sorry, turn 1. My bad. I'm looking at the wrong part of the track.
But this is an unusual incident, actually. He spun the tires, maybe coming out of the pit lane. Look at this.
Yeah, looks like that. Oh man, I've done that. No, he hit the. Okay, so go.
No,
back. He hits the wall. Yeah, he clips the wall. And I think
too close.
Yeah, that destroyed. I think the suspension. He clips the wall, destroys the suspension, hits the wall, and once he goes back, yeah, his car doesn't steer to the right anymore.
He had just gotten back in the car too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just you can see him clip the wall in the replay, and once he hits the wall, he's actually trying to go back a few times. And every time he drives back and he tries to basically steer to the right to continue his car is not giving him anything, just goes straight again.
Yeah, and he's still limping his way around, but now giving up the ghost and taking the toe back. You know, I did that in practice, Johan, and it did cause a lot of damage to the suspension, clipping that wall. So that's that's probably an ender for that poor team. That's a shame.
I mean,
Herrera just going to second, guys.
yeah, exactly. That is Mark Pickford losing it. That's very weird. Mark Pickford must have lost a lot of time then.
Well, guess what? Nuno's fast again. All of a sudden, he's turning 156 flats.
Yeah.
Is this maybe some repaired damage that he got?
It had, Joe, I can't think of anything other than he was damaged. I mean, what else can explain? His pace was 5 to 6 seconds, or 4 to 5 seconds off.
Yep. I think that'd be the case. Interesting stuff. Well, Nuno Moreira now getting himself up into second, demoting Mark Pickford to third. Honestly, I don't think either of those drivers are going to be disappointed with those results because, again, Pickford started 9th and Moreira started 7th.
But guys, look at the lap times for Mark Pickford. For the last 2 laps, he's only been driving 59s. That's an incredible amount slower than he did early in the race when he was able to do 55s and 56s.
Here's something that occurred to me though when I saw the pass, because it was under braking into Canada. Is Mark maybe lifting and coasting?
Might be.
Is he trying to save fuel?
But
get to the end.
At the moment, if you're losing this amount of time, 3-4 seconds per lap, it might be strategy, but I would almost say floor it and bite the bullet and take a quick splash and dash at the end.
Well, we saw how long the pit lane is, as Nick Mukano's finding out now. He comes in for his final stop, and he will be back out. So there we see our leader still yet to take his final stop. That's Phil Lake. Looks like he's just going as long as he can in this car.
Yeah, it's the same strategy that he used last time around, and this is good stuff for Philip Blake, because not only was he leading, not only was his gap increasing, he will also be able to take a pit stop the last of the four cars. That means a shorter stoppage time to put less fuel in.
So as we watch him work his way towards Canada corner, all of our GTP drivers have made their second stop by now, we should point out. And, I mentioned the climb. Oh, there's a little bit of an off there through Canada for Phil Lake. The climb that Moreira and Pickford made, well, King with his Team Bushfink Racing yellow machine, his teammate started in 4th and is now in the lead. So those guys not doing a bad job working their way forward either. Field continues to dwindle, though. We've had a number of DNFs since we last went through them. Dave Walsh is now gone. Franco Scurry, Justin Albrecht, Richard Keel, Luis Emerton, and Jonathan Rodriguez are all out of this race. 23 cars are still out on track.
Yeah, Philip Lake on screen, he's just making his pit stop, but I think that's done and settled, though. He had quite a big gap towards Rob Olenek, who was the first one who made his pit stop. Rob Olenek is currently going through the kink, being overtaken by the Nissan of Gabriel Legnini, as you can see here. But look at that gap that he still has to basically cover before he's on the start-finish straight. Looking at Lake, he already put his tires on. The Canis put him down already just for the last bit of fuel, and he's underway. He has around half the pit lane to go before he can go full speed again. And Olenek is still, no, he still hasn't covered the last corner even. That's quite a bit, quite a long way to go. Lake is out though. He didn't hit the wall, and he can continue to get that P1 position and bring it home.
Lon Arnozzi comes in, and the last driver we're waiting to pit, I believe, is the last one we waited for last time, Bronislav Robanek. Take that back, Cedric Poyle also has not taken his final stop.
And at the pit stop of Milan Arnozzi, it might be interesting to see where he comes out, because of course he was in that battle with Total Downforce Racing Black Riley Thompson. Riley Thompson is going through Canada corner now. A few more corners to go. The gap between him and Milan is a little bit smaller than we saw between the leaders in the Audi category. One more corner to go for Riley Thompson. Milan Arnozzi is putting down again by his mechanics, but he's not driving yet. He's not driving yet, and with Riley Thompson already at full speed going over the start-finish straight, I think that's a done deal. Yeah, Milan Arnozzi is still standing still, and Riley go past him. That means a P5 once again is for Riley Thompson.
Indeed, he's at least going to get himself up into the top 5 for this race, having started it around there. Currently in 6th, though, we should point out, because of Robinek continuing on. Now, lap 61 overall for the prototypes. Our drivers in the GTO class have only hit lap 55. Looking through the field, actually an impressive amount of drivers still on the lead lap in both classes after 2.5 hours. We've got 7 of them, and the GTO still running on the same lap as the leader, and 6 of them in the GTP still running the lead lap.
I just want to put some emphasis on that because cars are still running. We haven't seen any retirements for the last 30, 40 laps or so. One of those drivers is Thomas Delmuth, the number 70 car. He's currently 24 laps down. While we were on the break, he had a huge shunt, flipping his car in kind of the corner. He stood in the pits for repairs, almost 20, 30 minutes. You can see his Audi is quite battered, but he's still continuing to maybe actually get a position up Turn 3 Motorsports.
It won't win any beauty contests, but it's running. That's what's important.
That's endurance racing, man. It's finish the race. Finish the race.
We are going to be finishing that race in the near future. The laps tick down, close to 15 laps to go now. Your leader in the GTPs is still James King in the Team Bushfink Racing Yellow, the number 146. There you see him on screen. He took over for Timu Toika at the last pit stop. And our leader in the GTO, he's been driving this whole race by himself. That's Phil Lake for Dirty Torque number 99. Looks like we might have a bit of a battle starting to brew up for 3rd again, though.
Well, in both classes, Joe, but in the Nissans right now, Pickford's opened the door for John Keefe a little bit. Keefe, we talked about early in this race, was having such a great run. Now, all of a sudden, he's got an outside shot here at the podium. Well, more than an outside shot. I mean, again, Pickford's opened the door for him just a bit. It seems like ever since Nuno Moreira cleared Pickford's had some trouble. His pace just hasn't quite been there. A little bit better now. He's back into the 57s, but still slow.
Meanwhile, on screen, that was Keefe having a little bit of an off in the carousel, but collects it back together.
Very good save.
Yeah, that ground that he was able to get has now been given back, and he's got to do it all over again. It's up to about 1.3 seconds from Keefe to Pickford. So Hall may have had damage, but Hall is holding on to the back of Mukanos, although he lost a bunch of ground just now through the kink, as that was Franz Stoom who went through.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to say that. Yeah, Jamie Hall, well, you said 1.3 seconds. I think that's around the gap that we see between these two drivers as well at the moment. Jamie Hall, of course, had some damage after the contact. You could see his pace drop down tremendously, and that brought Nicolas Mukanos closer and actually gave him the opportunity to pass him. In the last few laps, Jamie Hall is quicker than Mukanos. His car got repaired in the pit stop with only 1.5 seconds between the two drivers. I think that Jamie Hall will be putting his teammate under pressure for the final podium position before the race is over.
Yeah, I think a tasty little battle is starting to brew between these two now that Hall actually has some healthy legs under him. Let's see what he can fight with. Coming around turn 1. Brings the gap down to 1.1 now. Another 0.2 off since we last looked at it. He's on the charge. Last of our GTOs comes in for his stop.
Yeah, that's Bronislav Robinek, who's coming in now. That will hand P5 to Riley Thompson, P6 to Milan Anorsi. And I think that Bronislav will actually fall down quite a bit. Well, quite a bit, not necessarily. He falls down 2 places because the rest is more than 1 lap behind him.
Indeed, Cedric Poyle has got a ways to go to catch him. Meanwhile, 3rd place, getting closer and closer. Which class, though? Because they're both at about even. 1 second between GTP drivers Mark Pickford and John Keefe, and 1 second between Mukanos and Hall. Oh, there were times I wish we had 2 heads.
Exactly. But the good thing, though, is that Nuno Moreira, or at least the good thing for the viewers, of course, it's not a good thing for Nuno Moreira. His pace is dropping a little bit. Last time around, he was a second slower than Mark Pickford. Mark Pickford, of course, is very close with John Keefe. If he continues like this, it will be a three-car battle for P2.
Ooh, and Lanini going off, tapping the wall out of turn 1. Lucky escape there. It's so easy to slam into that inside wall. A little bit too much curb on the exit, looks like.
Yeah, it's really easy to do that.
And third place switches hands. John Keefe gets by Mark Pickford. However, I can tell you over the radio, I did hear Mark give him the wave by.
Yeah, and John Keefe is saying I was looking forward to earning that. He's not happy that he just got the position gifted to him. He wants to fight for it.
Yep, there we saw the replay on screen. But I think Mark just wants to get to the end of this one, especially with the good run that he's had. Even if he might be off the podium, looks like the Catman just wants to be able to be satisfied with a checkered flag.
I mean, that's very humble, though, because he has had a really good pace so far. And I think that he was quicker than Nuno Moreira. He might have had the pace to battle for a P2 position.
Yeah, well, I have to agree. I think if it was me, I would at least give him a little bit of a fight. I would want to get to the end, but I would make him work for it.
Well, you know, Keefe's pace is pretty close to Nuno Moreira. Keefe may have a shot here. Nuno's got some traffic coming up in front of him here in a little bit. In fact, right now, boy, again, I think Keefe's got an outside chance to catch him.
Yeah, especially the traffic you're talking about, that's hurting him through turn 14, because you have to stay behind the Audi for such a long while. That's something that you're going to feel all the way till you brake for turn 1. That's harsh.
Now, to be fair, there's nothing in front of Nuno now. He's got clean track for a long way around, so Keefe's going to have to boogie here. But again, it's not outside of being possible.
Talking about something that's impossible was what Jamie Hall just did. He outbrakes himself for Canada corner, and he was getting closer and closer to Mukanas. But not like this. He just braked too late, going towards Canada corner, and sent himself through a single trip through the gravel. Riding on board with him here. There was some traffic on the inside of him, but just, lost control. Had to take a little trip through the gravel. No damage for him, though. But man, that fight that I was hoping for P3 in the GTO category, that has gone to shambles because the gap between them has increased dramatically.
Well, and we were talking a little bit before the broadcast, and I was telling you my experience when I ran this race last year, how much the tires went off. That looked a lot like what I experienced there, just having trouble getting the car to whoa up. Meanwhile, one of our drivers waiting to get his car repaired has stepped out as the team bangs away on the engine and the suspension. We've got Taylor Burris ready to talk to us about how his race has been going. It's sad to see that car's not moving at the moment. Taylor, what exactly happened in the pit exit there?
Well, the first thing that happened was the big mistake of speeding on pit road on our final stop. We were in a good position, so I had to come back around to take the penalty. For some reason, I thought I was cleared for the most part getting off a pit road, but unfortunately it just barely clipped that wall. And yeah, so we're going to try to get the car fixed. We're still going to try and finish 10th place in class. We still got a battle on, and hopefully we'll be able to get the car out and look forward to the new season next week.
Do you know how much time they're saying is left before they're estimating you can get on the track again?
I got about a minute and a half required.
Right.
So
well, in that case, we'll let you go then so that you can get focused and get back going. Best of luck, and well, I guess I'll see you in the booth later on next week.
All right, see you then.
That was Taylor Burris, as he mentioned, currently down in the 10th position, trying to hold off Thomas Delmuth, who continues to gain laps on them as they get the car repaired.
Yeah, but I think that's race over for Thomas Delmuth, though. Well, not necessarily race over, but the opportunity to increase positions over, because he's currently 9 laps behind Turn 3 Motorsports with 1.5 minutes of repairs remaining. I think that will be fine before the race is over.
As we get down to the final 10 laps here in a moment, I'm going to check on the times of Keith versus Barrera to see if Keith's got anything for the Portuguese driver. As
you know, it's close. Nuno's still got a bit of the edge, Joe, but one mistake by Nuno Moreira and John Keefe is got second. I mean, it's a just over 6 second gap. The times right now average somewhere between about 4 and 5/10 of a second difference, but like I said, Nuno's not pulling away like at an incredible rate at the moment. So Keith's got a shot at this here.
The great. Go ahead.
So you don't have to be in someone's mirror to put them under pressure. And if you're able to drive the same lap times, even though there's 5-6 seconds between them, like you say, Sean, one mistake and you're there to capitalize on him.
The good news for Moreira is that with this being the end of the race, attrition has really thinned out the field. So he's running into traffic a lot less often, which I would say is probably his biggest worry, is just navigating his way around those GTO cars. He's got quite a ways up to the next car, which is Milan Arnozzi.
You know, the gap to King has remained the same here for quite a while, actually. I think King obviously not driving the car. He shouldn't be driving the car as hard as he can here at this point.
No, I would think that as soon as he hopped into the car, he was probably told by his teammate, if not his crew chief, to just run consistent, comfortable laps. Not too slow, not pushing too hard. Just bring the car home. You've got this thing under wraps as long as it stays.
Oh, sorry, Nicolas Mercados had contact. Nicolas Mercados had contact with John Spitt. That was, I don't know where, second to last corner.
13A, yeah.
Trying to overtake him on the outside. He just got a single tap here on his rear. We're going to a replay here of it.
Yeah, this goes bad.
Just trying. Man, difficult though. Nicolas Mercados is steering in a way that, yeah, John doesn't really have a place to go, but also John understeers a little bit there. Difficult
he was
racing
trying to let him by. This is the lightest of touches, we should point out too. So.
Yeah. Mercados got a little lucky there too. That car stopped sliding at the right time. Obviously, Barrier was coming up quick.
I mean, if you hit the barrier there with that speed, the race is over. Lucky for him, he continued, but man, heartbreak. You almost say, well, why didn't you wait? Why didn't you wait one corner? I can understand you want to make the move there, stay in front of Jamie Hall like that, but he's throwing away a podium position here because the gap between him and Hall is quite big now, 5 seconds or something like that, 6 seconds even. And with Jamie Hall being quicker, I don't see Mercados closing the gap towards his teammate.
Well, and remember, Hall's damage that put him down into fourth came from dealing with traffic.
Yep,
so.
True.
This is a bit of racing karma once again. Hall, however, 27 seconds up to Rob Olenek. Boy, Olenek and Lake have scampered away from this field. So this is probably as high as the 420 machine is going to go unless either first and second place have a serious wreck.
Oh, we could probably go higher than that, Joe. Sorry.
You had to get one in, didn't you?
Sorry.
Well, I have to say, I can understand that gap though that Jamie Hall at the moment has, because he had the damage for quite a while and he probably has lost a lot of track position. More importantly, I'm looking at the gap between Lake and Olenek, 16 seconds behind them currently. That's a huge gap between the two drivers, and that's just of Philip Lake driving away. He really found his rhythm in the last stages of the race and able to put that gap there.
So is the number 33. Works his way down into turn 3. You can see that car behind him just lapped traffic at the moment. That is Cedric Poyle. It's the first car lapped down, sitting in 8th position. I have good news for fans of turn 3 motorsports. Taylor Burris brought the car back out, and he is in 10th place.
So if we had a merger of Turn 2 and Turn 3 Motorsports, would that be backstretch?
2.5?
Or I was thinking backstretch Motorsports. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It sounds like you're just getting out of the car and you know, stretching your limbs. Meanwhile, John Keefe in for a third stop.
Oh no, they cannot
Right
make it.
row,
apparently.
Shaggy.
Yeah.
I think we got trouble.
Now, how many other cars can't make it, though?
You were mentioning this, Joe, like 20, 30 minutes ago. Drivers might actually be fuel saving. And is this basically the driver saying, yeah, we tried to fuel save and we couldn't make it?
And was that what Nuno Moreira was doing earlier?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because look how short it was. I think I counted 3-4 seconds. This was a splash and dash.
Wow.
8 seconds. Apparently I cannot count. But still, a very short stop.
Welcome to GSRC.
Yes.
But
It's right in, Joe.
well, that brings me to the number 146 then. Team Bushfink Racing Yellow, our leader. He has not been good. These guys have not been going slow this whole race. No. But have they pulled out enough that they're safe to make a third stop if they need it?
I think absolutely. I think absolutely. At the moment, Nuno Moreira is a little bit quicker, around a second per lap, at least last time around. But I think that with 1 minute and 8 seconds in front of them, I think that James King can come in, take a splash and dash, and still make it.
Might even get a spotted T.
We hear director actually counting 40 seconds cone to cone. The pit stop was on John Keefe. So if James King loses 40 seconds, he's still almost half a minute in front of Nuno Moreira. That's a long gap.
Yeah, exactly. Probably more like 45 considering the slowing down and speeding up to get in, but still not nearly enough bogey time. However, other drivers in the field, there's nobody farther apart than 25 seconds within the top 8. So they could definitely shuffle positions. 9 laps left to go.
Man, this has been a great race. It really has. And yeah, we've had some retirements, but I think on the whole, we got exactly what we were expecting. Really, really good, close, tight racing.
Absolutely. Well, looking at the Nissans at the moment, it doesn't seem like other cars are actually opting to go in. James King still continuing, Moreira still continuing, Pickford still going on. James King is actually going another lap. It seems it might also have been John Keefe just miscalculating his fuel strategy and just having to save his race by doing this.
Well, right now it slots him back in 5th, ahead of Dave Peterson, who's within touching distance, but not really attacking distance right now.
Yeah, and also looking at the last lap times, John Keefe was actually doing to drive 156 as well. Dave Peterson actually did 155 last time around. If Peterson gets his head down, he will be able to drive closer. But it'll also be that Dave Peterson is just running on fumes and has to come in for a splash and dash as well.
So the big question is now left, who else in the GTP class is going to come in for that third stop?
Because it's anyone who will make a pit stop. Ooh, as Dave Peterson gets really loose there. Holy, he actually managed to miss the wall there.
Did he miss it?
Yeah, he missed it.
Ooh, I don't know.
See on the replay.
We got a chance here.
Yeah,
wow.
I don't think he touched it.
He goes wide directly after turn 8 as well, but just look at here, he almost loses the wall. That's what happens when you see a car in front and you think you can get it. You're gonna push it, and you're gonna give it everything you get. He barely misses the wall there.
Turn 6, one of the slower corners on this track, and the turbo lag in this car does not like accelerating out of those corners. Dave Peterson gets away lucky this time, but loses a lot of ground now, 4 seconds behind John Keefe.
You say it's the slowest corner on track. I personally think it's the most difficult one on track.
I would agree.
It just has a little bit off camber. It has that runoff area, and if you touch it, like we see with Dave Peterson here, you just fly into the wall or at least towards it.
Meanwhile, Stoom comes in for a third stop. So there's another driver who doesn't think they can make it. John Keefe just getting his first full-time lap in, a 156 put down. Significant because Ben Laughter running just slightly slower laps ahead of him, but there's very few laps left for him to run down Laughter.
Yeah, exactly. If Laughter just keeps up this pace, he will finish in front of John Keefe. He can actually deal with losing a few tenths per lap with a 9-second gap at the moment.
So we've seen Lanini, Peterson, and now Stoom all take a third stop. Bob Crouch has been in 3 times. Some of these, though, might be due to damage earlier in the race. So we take a look at Ben Laughter sitting there in 4th. He himself has about 10 seconds up to Mark Pickford, which, because of John Keefe pitting, he has now re-inherited a podium position. So for all John Keefe wanted to battle, I think that explains why Pickford just let him through.
Yep.
All right, well, we're going to lose one of our team because we've got another broadcast coming up. Sean, thank you so much for helping us cover this race. It's been a joy, and I think you're going to have fun down at your home track here.
Yes, coming up next, you're going to jump over to the Global Sim Racing Channel Network on YouTube here and come watch the gathering of tweakers in their GTE 3 season finale here at Circuit of the Americas. A little place called Austin, Texas is where we're heading. Particularly Elroy, actually, is the name of the town that it's in. But heading over there, going to get set up and get ready to go. Come join us. We'll see you over there when this race is over in about 6 laps. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean. As he heads out the booth, I'm sure that Sean will have a good time. He always loves his boy Elroy down there in Texas. Meanwhile, Ben Laughter coming in now for a third stop.
We were talking about it. We were wondering which of the Nissans would come in for a pit stop, and Laughter is the first one that blinks after you said it. Now he will lose quite a bit. Oh, I'm looking at Dave Peterson. Again, he almost loses the car. This was on the exit of turn 3. Man, what a wiggle there was.
Let's watch the replay. And once again, just getting to that power. He was well clear of the corner. You're going to see this gray, blue, and white machine. Woo!
You know, I actually think that Dave Peterson doesn't have to get everything. He's just... This is not the way a driver drives when he knows he has to make another pit stop and he's going to lose positions. This is the way a driver drives who knows that if I stay here and I will gain positions, I will finish in front of the drivers that are making pit stops.
I would agree. Let's see if maybe others hand him over spots. We're now down to 6 laps to go. 5.5 really, with James King coming up to the kettle bottoms after the kink here.
What a run as well from Dave Peterson, gaining 11 positions so far. James King, well, he couldn't win any more positions starting at P4. Great race from him as well at the moment, almost 70 seconds in front of Nuno Moreira.
So is Moreira able to go to the end? We think, based on his driving, he may have been fuel saving his laps these last few times. 57, 57, 58, 57, 56. Yeah, those are not stonking fast laps. He might still be lifting and coasting a little bit.
Yep.
I would assume that Pickford doing the same. He's running even slower. 2-minute laps, 1:59 laps. He sits in 3rd still, ahead of John Keefe. But again, Keefe is gaining on him, hand over fist.
Just a quick update of the GTO class. Philip Blake, he's still in P1 currently, 15 seconds in front of Rob Olenek, as you can see on top of the screen. Not a lot of difference between the two drivers, driving approximately as fast as each other. So not really extending or closing down the gap. Jamie Hall is currently still driving on that last podium position. He's quite an amount of time in front of Mukanas, around 5-6 seconds. Looking at the lap times, it seems that these two drivers are comparable as well, with only 5 more laps to go. It probably seems like Mukanos will finish in P4. Last driver in the top 5 there, Riley Thompson, quite a way behind the Doherty Torque drivers, but at the same time he's safe from Milan Arnossi P6.
Now, everybody get out your bingo card, because I'm going to do something dangerous and do math here. But John Keefe, looking at his times, he's about 3 to 4 seconds a lap faster than Pickford. There's about 13 seconds between them right now, with 5 laps to go. That seems like it is going to be right down to the wire between these two on who is the last man on the podium.
And at the moment, Mark Pickford, he really doesn't have any room in the strategy anymore, because if he actually goes in for a pit stop and decides not to fuel save anymore, he will lose it anyway. This is really what he has to do. We were talking about that, Mark Pickford actually letting people by early in the race. Maybe he was already fuel saving at that point when John Keefe was overtaking him. Last time around, he actually did a 2 minute, not even a 59 anymore. So it seems that the fuel saving from Mark is increasing. At the same time, John Keefe is putting the hammer down quicker than he was, I think, since he made this pit stop, with a 56.4.
Yeah, he is coming fast. It's now down to 11 seconds between himself and the Scuderia Gato Nero car. That's Peterson just coming off and getting back on track.
He's doing the same thing that the other Peterson was doing a few laps before him.
Dave is still on only 2 stops, still going, sitting in 5th spot. And this makes me wonder, are we going to see any cars maybe sputter to the line? It's a steep uphill climb to finish this race, Johan.
Yeah, it really is. And once you get to sputter, you're not going to get up the hill. And that you're driving for 2.5 hours, and it would be heartbreaking if you actually fall still just meters before the finish line. It wouldn't be the first time I actually see something like that happen. It's something that can happen in any car at Road America. I'm keep looking at John Keefe. I'm just so curious if he is able to close that gap down to Mark. You calculated it, and I think you're right. He's
Oh, and this is a battle for position. I haven't seen one of these in a bit. That's Ben Laughter chasing down the car of Sebastian Rishman, excuse me. And again, Rishman on a 2-stop strategy, Laughter on a 3-stop. So he's clearly running much faster times than that number 8.
Yeah, but I don't think that Sebastian is actually fuel saving at the moment. He might be doing it slightly, but not when Ben Laughter is just behind you. You want to keep him behind him as much as you can. But look at Ben Laughter now. He's right behind him, just a few corners, and then you have that very long start-finish straight where you'll be able to make an overtake. Oh, really close there, again in the corner. I thought I saw a wiggle on the braking. Well, it was more than a wiggle, because he almost ended Sebastian there. Managed to avoid him, but look at the amount of time that he immediately lost there. Ben Laughter has his work cut out for him to close it again.
We said it at the start, and you see it here at the end. Patience is key. And Dave Peterson can't make it. He comes in with 3 laps to go.
And that hurts for Dave Peterson, because they will lose him 2 positions. 1 to Ben Laughter and 1 to Sebastian Rishman.
He might lose 1 to Lanini as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he going? Yes, he's going, but Lanini's got a head of steam. Yeah, he's getting by. So move Gabriel up to 7th.
Oh, and that's a heartbreak. He was fighting for a top 5 position, but now Dave Peterson looks like he will finish only 8th.
All right, John Keefe now has it down to 5.5 seconds. Last lap a little bit slower though, 1:57.1. Ooh, boy.
Yeah, they're going over the start-finish line. There was almost 8.5 seconds between the two, and if it's already 5.8 seconds, that means that Mark Pickford is losing more time than he wants at the moment.
Man, if Mark loses the podium on the last lap, he is going to absolutely have kittens.
Exactly. Well, he's actually not being helped by that Audi in front of him. That's Taylor. Oh man, he catches Taylor right in the wrong moment, and this will lose him so much time, because he has to wait several corners before he can pass the Audi. Now he has a better line. He's able to put it side by side, but look at that car behind him. Look at how close John Keefe is getting. On top of the screen, you can see in that red and white car, it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, it is now 2 seconds, under 2 seconds between Keefe and Pickford. And again, this is the battle for 3rd place in the prototypes, the GTP class. And we are getting close to 2 laps to go. In fact, they're almost going to be lapped by our leader, we should point out.
John Keefe really has the knife between his teeth at the moment with that late braking move in turn 1 on Taylor. He knows that he can get it. I'm curious if Mark Pickford, now he sees his rival so close, if he still has to fuel save, or if he just fuel saves enough to go all out towards the finish line now.
Well, we'll find out when the white flag comes out, that's for sure, as he's now on the back of him. Mark Pickford in his mirrors just has it full of the red and white machine of John Keefe in that SimSport News Mercedes. Through into the hurry downs they go. Just half a second between them. Under braking into turn 8. Gains a little bit more ground.
Different driving lines here through the carousel, a lot wider from John Keefe, trying to get the... Oh, once again, he puts his right side tires on the grass. And we saw him doing that earlier in the race, and then he almost spun to the inside and hit the wall. This time, not so much. Big fin of him. Oh, this will hurt him. Mark Pickford has to be checked up completely to pass Rob Olenek. Right on the gearbox, he is now John Keefe. Defending the inside, Marcus, but on the outside, John Keefe can brake later. Make that move stick. That's P3 for John Keefe.
That was definitely a huge lift and coast for Pickford. I think he is stretching this thing as far as he can to get to the finish. But easy pickings for John Keefe, who we thought had handed away a podium, gets it back with 2 laps to go.
Mark Pickford really has to not make a pit stop, because behind him, Sebastian Richmond is battling with Ben Laughter. Very close between them, going towards Canada corner. Once Mark makes a pit stop now, he loses positions to both of these drivers. It's essential for him to stay out now.
And James King just took the white flag. The Team Bushfink Racing Yellow number 146. Didn't lead every lap of this race, but once he got up the lead, it was good night. He's taking it over from Timu Toika. Not sure if we've had the Fat Timu fan base coming into the chat quite yet, but I'm sure they're happy to see his car come home with what looks like will be an easy win here with just the final lap. Again, a minute length between himself and second place, Nuno Moreira.
Yeah, great driving from the whole Team Bushfink team, but like we used to. It doesn't matter which cars they drive, they always seem to have the best of the bunch driving their cars, and really good performance.
That's a good way to throw it away, though. I almost made contact with John Spitt through turn 7, but they both get away with it.
Oh, sorry, if we go to Ben Laughter, he's trying a last lap move on the inside here. That's turn 6. Sebastian Richmond had a very loose moment out of turn 5, and that loses him position. That's a last lap overtake from Ben Laughter.
We're going to watch the replay. This is into turn 6, just a little bit wide out of 5. You can see the bobble there. Laughter smells blood. The Mindtrick Motorsports 002 gets it done. Meanwhile, just 2 more corners to go for James King as the checkered flag waits for him. Coming out of the final corner, Team Bushfink once again proving why they are a major force now here in iRacing as James King takes the car to the victory. I'm sure Timu is celebrating wherever he is now watching. GTO cars coming around as well. Phil Lake actually has a whole lap to do, so we'll come back to him in a bit.
Yeah, and he is right behind the very exciting battle for P3, because Mark Pickford, he doesn't have the fuel save anymore. He's right in the gearbox, right in the draft of John Keefe. He has a few more opportunities. He's sending it on the inside here. Beautiful braking from Mark Pickford there. Sending it. John Keefe tries to do the up and under, but he is not able to do it. He is able to do it. Puts it again side by side towards turn 6. If Mark Pickford can keep it side by side, he has the inside to the next corner. He doesn't have the inside to the next corner though. He has to slot in behind, but he has stepped up the pace, and with half a lap to go, he's trying to get back that podium position.
That's not a cat out there. That is a possum. Mark Pickford coming back at him, seeing what he can do. And now John Keefe is really got to be sweating, thinking, I have this thing in the bag. What happens around the carousel? They are going to come, and just one more major braking opportunity for him to maybe have a chance to try and pass him. He's slipping away now as Mark Pickford starts to slow down. Is he maybe out of fuel now?
I think so, because that's not the amount of time that you lose if you're not out of fuel. Look at that gap increase. He tried it one more time. He tried to make that move stick just out of purpose. But yeah, Mark Pickford is dropping hard at the moment. Luckily for him, Ben Lafter has already finished, so he will not lose another position by people behind him. But he's not able to close that gap down and try and move for P3.
Didn't get to cover Nuno Moreira getting his second place, but a nice job to him and to this man, John Keefe, the Hoosier, here in the U.S. is going to take a podium.
Behind him, Philip Lake is celebrating his win already, going sideways, a beautiful drift. I give it a 9 out of 10, Philip, beautifully done. And he's going to celebrate his GTO victory here at Road America.
Nicely done. Great battle that he had with the man behind him, Rob Olenek. Boy, second place, he fought hard. I still think he should be proud. Is he out of fuel, though? Olenek is slow.
Oh, he's... he's already finished.
All right, so sorry about that. False alarm. So he's just waiting for his teammate to come and get a little bit of a photo op afterwards. Third place went to Jamie Hall behind them. We're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Thanks for sticking with us throughout this 500-kilometer race here at Road America. We'll be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. Welcome back here to Road America. We just watched the Kamel GT 500 on the iRacing Esports Network. Don't go away quite yet, although if you do want to hop over to the Gathering of Tweakers race, we don't blame you, but we got some good interviews as well. Here's your race results. Team Bushfink Racing Yellow with Timu Toika and James King took the win today. Portugal, just Portugal, no Team Portugal or anything in there. That was a lone man effort. Nuno Moreira finished second, coming over from the Lotus 79s, proving he can race these cars too. Then Sim Sport News, Mercedes, John Keefe. The last lap battle went to him as Mark Pickford had to save fuel all the way down to the line. He did manage a fourth, though. Ben Laughter, last lap pass for him. He finished a lap down, but he still managed to get a top 5. He just overtook Sebastian Richman there at the end, who finished 6th. Then in 7th, it's Gabriel Lanini, who managed to take that 7th spot in the number 20 car. Dave Peterson had to take a little bit of extra fuel at the end. That slotted him down to 8th. Klaus Peterson, no relation, we're pretty sure, finished in 9th behind him. And Franz Josef Stum finished in the top 10. Then you go to Rob Crouch, who finished in 11th, KRF Motorsports, and Javier Perez finished 12th for Vertex Motorsports. We had a few DNFs, Dave Walsh, Justin Albrecht, Luis Emerton, Michael Houghton, Jens Rucker, and Terry Newmaster all did not finish in the GTP class. Let's go to the GTOs.
Yeah, the GTO category, I mean, you have the 3 Musketeers, but it's kind of the 4 Musketeers here, with Dirty Torque taking the first 4 positions. Philip Blake finishes on P1 and he shares the podium with Rob Olodek and Jamie all behind him. Nicolas Mukanos is the only one of the top 4 that doesn't finish on the podium and doesn't get the chicane, but he at least has a top 5 position, which he also shares with Riley Thompson. Milan Anorski finishes in P6 and he finishes in front of Bronislav Robinek. New Gulf Racing, that's with Cedric Poyle. He finishes in P8 in front of John Speech with Intellectual Property Motorsports G. The top 10, P10, goes to Turn 3 Motorsports behind the wheel Taylor Burris. And the last driver in the Audi class that actually finished the race, that saw the checkered flag, Thomas Delmove. And also in this class we saw several drivers that didn't see the checkered flag. Franco Scuri, Richard Kioff, Jonathan Rodriguez, Stefan Slager, our pole setter who had an unfortunate incident at the beginning of the race and had to retire. Reed Miller and Mathieu Jetti all didn't finish the race.
We do have our winners who finished the race ready to talk to us. That's James King and Timu Toika. We'll pull that team in here and ask them about their strategy, because they didn't actually take a third stop. They were going what seemed like flat out to the end. And that is even more impressive, knowing that their rivals with less pace had to make an extra stop. How in the world did you guys save fuel and make that kind of speed?
I don't think it was needed to be saving fuel, if I'm honest. We just went full tanks all the way, and somehow it worked.
Well, glad it worked for you guys, because we saw a whole lot of the GTP field come in for a third stop. Timu, you're the one that inherited the lead there early in the race. Now, starting from 4th, you saw the guys battling up front. Did you just kind of want to let them do their thing? And did you think the lead would come to you, or was that a complete surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I saw at the start when I got to 3rd, I saw Justin and I think Michael battle it out, and I sort of wanted to get in with them, but then the GTOs came into the mix, and then I just decided to take it easy and let the race come to me instead of like rushing into it. And then suddenly Michael's engine went, and then I had some troubles with the traffic, and then Justin just I think I heard like a hardware failure or something, because his car just kept turning to the left or something. I don't know. And then we just cruised to the finish, or at least to the stops, where I had a minute lead or something.
And James, you had a bit of a scare on the last lap there with Spit coming through turn 7. Were you thinking it could have been thrown away as you almost made contact there?
Yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but luckily I've been doing sort of multi-class racing for pretty much my whole time on iRacing, so Maybe it doesn't phase me so much when I get close to other cars as it probably should. But yeah, thankfully it didn't go the wrong way.
Yeah, it seemed to work out in your favor. Do you guys both think you'll be running the regular Camel GT series this upcoming season? Timu, I know we've seen you there before, obviously, with your win.
Yeah, I think I'll most probably do the whole season. But James?
Yeah, I'm looking at it as well. I need to find the new series, and this has bitten me for sure.
It's easy to do. The races are exciting. Congratulations both to James and Timu. Can't wait to see you in the upcoming season.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're our winners for Team Bushfink Racing Yellow. Up next, Johan has caught up with Phil Lake to talk to him about his win in the GTO class.
Yeah, congratulations, Philip. Great race from you. I just wanted to say, it once the green flag dropped and the race started, you really seemed to like grow into the race and get quicker each lap. Did you feel like that as well?
Yeah, I think so. At the start, I was just taking it a little bit easy, just trying to stay out of trouble. I didn't qualify as well as I'd hoped. I was kind of hoping to be on the front row, but yeah, so I knew I'd be in a pack. And I was expecting the pack to last a lot longer into the race than it did. I was quite surprised to end up with a gap after the second pit stop.
Yeah, well, exactly. You and Rob broke off quite early into the race. Looking at the results, there's 4 Dirty Torque drivers in the top 4. When the race started, there were 4 in the top 5. Did you actually had some kind of agreement to drive in a certain way together, or was it really each man for himself?
It's everyone for themselves. I think we're a little bit more careful around each other, maybe, but no, we're all out to win, and I don't think any of us would hold back on anyone else.
Oh, you're saying you guys were careful with each other, and you're saying you don't hold back. You actually had contact with Rob during the race that sent you to P4. For us, it almost seemed like a red mist went over you because you went suddenly a lot quicker after that. What really helped you was it just you got into focus after that incident and you had to fight your way forward again? That really gave you that extra speed in the race?
I think red mist is pretty accurate. I think if the race was shorter, I'd probably be in a little bit more angry at the end of it, but I'd calm down after we got the first pit stop out of the way and I got back up to second, and I think I jumped Rob in the first stop. So I was, yeah, definitely motivated by that to catch Rob back up.
Very good. Well, you caught him up in the end, and you actually passed him in the end. You had a beautiful, gap to victory when the checkered flag dropped. So congratulations once again with winning the category today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks.
That was Philip Lake, the P1 finisher in the GTO class. Now, in the meantime, Joe, you have caught up with another driver that I think had a podium today.
Yeah, John Keefe is going to join us as he managed to chase down Mark Pickford at the end of the race. John, we heard you over the radio, a little disappointed the first time you got by him that he didn't fight you harder. Did things start to make sense when you made a stop and he didn't, though?
I was running pretty low downforce, so I knew I was going to come up short. So I just decided, like within that 10-lap window, to just come in and get the 1 lap of fuel I needed. With Mark, I didn't think I was going to actually catch him, even if he was fuel saving. But then I don't know if he caught some traffic bad or if he was really backed off that much to catch him at the end. But I'm glad I finally got to race that guy. He's a pretty funny character, and I've never actually raced against him. So to fight for a podium with him, that was awesome. After 78 laps of torture.
Yeah, amazing how even after that long of a race, you can have a battle on the final lap. Now, you actually had an impressive climb yourself. You started in 10th place and managed to finish in 3rd. We did see a few people that we don't typically see here in Camel GT. Do you think that experience that you've had has all come into play to help you get it up to celebrate with some champagne?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you asked this, I think it was last week, and it's all just knowing like how hard you can come off of a slower corner. If you can get a really good drive and not spin it, that just takes a lot of getting used to the car. And that's really the key. I'm not sure about all the incidents that happened today, but I know I saw myself a couple of guys turbo lag, in all of the same areas. So it just comes down to, just getting to know the car really well and what you like, the line you can't cross with it. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. And sorry about that. Sometimes sometimes we repeat ourselves here on GSRC.
Oh, no problem. That's no problem.
Sometimes we repeat ourselves here on GSRC. So anyways, we've got Suzuka coming up, and that one a lot tighter, a lot twistier than here at Road America. Are you looking forward to that? Or are you a little worried that being the first round, that's going to be kind of crazy?
No, well, I love the crazy tracks. The Donington National was amazing. Lime Rock's one of my favorites in this series. So the tighter and narrower, the better, in my opinion. So I always look forward to Suzuka. I was never good at that track until Kamel, actually. I couldn't drive anything at that track until Kamel came around. So now I really enjoy Suzuka. So looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Maybe you'll have to teach me, because I still can't seem to get a handle on Suzuka. Well, again, congratulations on a third place, well-run race today, and you gave us some excitement.
Yep, I was hoping my buddy Lewis Emerton was going to be up here with me, but he, I don't know what happened with him early on, but something did. But we had a master plan, but it couldn't come to fruition in this race.
Disappointment. He was looking good before his incident. That was John Keefe, our third place finisher here today. Up next, I believe we have, is it Rob Olenek that we're going to be talking to? Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I caught up with Rob Olenek here. Rob, congratulations with P2, but now the finish flag has dropped. You have had your champagne. I'm actually wondering, are you happy with this P2 result? Because you were fighting so hard and you actually drove P1 for quite a while.
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to get first. So congratulations to Phil. He ran better. As the track wore in, I don't know, I should have practiced my setup on a worn-in track. I did full fuel runs, but the car just didn't drive well, like mid-race on. So, but Phil got faster. I got slower, he got faster.
Yeah, exactly. That was what we actually saw, indeed, Philip getting quicker. But can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, how did your car change its behavior once the race went on?
It was pushing a lot more under braking and trying to get it to turn into the corners. I don't know. I mean, it definitely had like a really good turn in the whole first stint. Second stint with new tires, it felt great. I'd say halfway through the second stint, it just started pushing. I couldn't get the car to turn much. So I know how Phil's car is set up. I know how most of the guys' cars are set up. And I was running a stiffer front ARB, which worked really good for me until the track worn in.
Well, that's a shame. Well, in the end, you managed to get P2. Another thing that I was wondering is you're with Dirty Torque, 4 Dirty Torque drivers in the top 4. But if you look at the Nissan category, we actually see that the team that won actually did 2 drivers in this event. Do you think that maybe 2 drivers would have helped you overall pace a little bit, or you think that meant 2.5 hours alone, that's enough time to keep concentrated and finish the race?
Yeah, I don't think 2.5 hours is a really long stint. I mean, I think a lot of us are used to doing the longer endurance races, and you'll do that multiple times in a 24-hour period. So I think it's a perfect length stint to feel like you've driven for a while, get tired after it. It's a lot of fun. I like that length.
Awesome. Well, once again, congratulations. Enjoy the champagne and enjoy the party at the Dirty Torque factory, I imagine.
All right. Thanks. See you later, guys.
It was Rob Olenek coming home in P2 in the GTO category. And now we have one more interviewee joining us in the booth, Joe, and you have caught up with him.
Yep, we've got Ben Laughter here with us. And Ben, you had to make a last-minute splash and dash there to make it to the end. Did you think you could get there before you got down to the last bit? Did you plan on a 2-stop, or was the 3-stop always in the cards?
No, it was always a 3-stop race for me. I knew I was going to be light, and this is one of those cars you've got to drive it full on. If you underdrive it, you crash it, and I'm not good enough at it to try to do that. So so I knew that I was going to have to do 3 the whole time.
You did manage a last lap pass to get yourself into the top 5. Are you satisfied with that, though? At least getting that on what was one of the longest races we've seen in these cars?
Man, I'm thrilled, actually. You know, I practiced last night, and it was a sorry show. But I think the reason I did well today was because I had to do a business trip where I had to drive down to Dallas and drive around in Dallas quite a bit. And so driving in Dallas is essentially multi-class motorsports, and I think it prepped me for this, and I did okay.
We get confirmation from our director who lives in the Dallas area. One last question before we let you go. I've seen a little bit of talk about doing this again, doing another endurance race and maybe a different track. What would your vote be instead of Road America if you had to choose another one?
Always probably going to say Nordschleife.
Ooh, I like your taste. So, Ben Laughter, getting the top 5 today. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations.
Yeah, you bet. And thank you guys, and to the Dirty Torque guys. And by the way, thanks to Dave, Gabriel, and Sebastian. We had a killer race-long fight between the 4 of us, and that was a lot of fun. Thanks for some clean racing today.
Yes, thanks to everybody for coming out and racing today. That was Ben Laughter, 5th place finisher. Real quick, I didn't think we were going to have another one, but Mark Pickford has joined us. Johan's going to talk to him.
Yeah, great you joined us in the booth, Mark. Congratulations, man. You finished P4. You gained 5 positions. You must be very happy with your result. I'm not getting any audio. Can you hear us, Mark? Not getting anything from Mark.
Give him a little bit of an opportunity to see if he can sort out his microphone. Definitely want to talk to Mark, as was mentioned. He's a fun character in the forums, very popular among drivers here on iRacing. Mark, do you got a copy? Looks like Mark is unfortunately not going to be able to. Oh.
Hello?
There we go. All right. Go ahead, Johan.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. good you're here with us. I wanted to say, man, you finished P4 after starting P9, gaining 5 positions. You must be very happy with your result.
Blown away. It's a bit like the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expected that.
I mean, to be honest, you had great pace. Now, I was wondering one of the things, actually. At the end of the race, were you fuel saving a lot at the end?
Yeah. Me and calculations don't go down too well. I was fuel saving for the last 10 laps. So in the end, I was just pleased to actually cross the finish line. Would have been nice to have a podium, but there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Because you of course were dropping down. We saw that in your lap times. But the second to last lap, or I think even the last lap, you gave John Keefe a run for your money. Were you like, okay, I have fuel saved enough, I'm going to just do one last try to get a P3 position? Or was it more like, it's the last lap anyway, if I strand now, I'm stranded and it's fine?
No, I looked at F4 and it said I had like 1.1 lap to go or something. And I thought, well, we'll give it a go. And then just that half a lap of chasing John hard again, and it suddenly dropped to I'd got no fuel left. So I outbraked him into is it turn 7? I can't remember, whichever one it is. Left it a bit too late, to be honest. It was a bit of a dirty move, but we didn't touch, and that was cool. And then once he got past, I knew I'd just have to kind of just cruise behind him.
Exactly. Well, you didn't finish on the podium today, so no champagne, but after your drive today, you certainly deserve some whiskey.
Oh, good idea. Funny you should say that.
No catnip instead?
Yeah, maybe some of that as well.
All right, that was Mark Pickford, who got a 4th place finish here today. With that, we are going to wrap up here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Thanks for watching with us. And once again, if you can, please jump over to the Gathering of Tweakers, which is on the Global Sim Racing channel. Before you do that, though, make sure and subscribe here to IESN for all the great iRacing action with all their official World Championship series. Thanks to the Kamel GT community for bringing us together to broadcast this, as well as getting it onto the iRacing Esports Network. We're very happy to see that happen. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Eckholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, Dougie, and of course Johan as well. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Next race, we mentioned we're going to Japan for round 1. That'll be at Suzuka, September 15th on a Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.